Chapter 4082. Senior Scarlet Life, Something Happened to Yu Jingchen. Nie Tian's face darkened as he looked at the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart. He then told it about Yu Jingchen. What? The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart's eyes narrowed when it heard Nie Tian's story. How is Jingchen now? Senior Scarlet Life, don't get too excited. Yu Jingchen is now in my 9 extremities. His condition has stabilized. Nie Tian nodded. I want to see him. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart calmed down and said. Okay. Nie Tian nodded. He also wanted to see Yu Jingchen's condition, so he entered the 9 extremities with the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and Qing Qi. Nie Tian and the others entered the 9 extremities and followed Xie Tianquang's aura to the outside of a valley. Boss. Just as they arrived, Xie Tianquang's figure appeared and shouted in surprise. Nie Tian nodded as he took a step forward and asked, Quang, how is Yu Jingchen? I don't know. I don't know what method that guy used to turn Yu Jingchen into a cocoon. Xie Tianquang frowned and said with a puzzled expression. Chrysalis? Nie Tian went blank for a moment before his expression flickered. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart took a step forward and entered the valley. Nie Tian and Qing Qi followed suit. What he saw in the valley caused Nie Tian's eyes to tremble, and he was completely dumbfounded. The valley, with a radius of several thousand meters, was now filled with silk-like things that were distributed horizontally and vertically, extending in all directions and completely filling the entire valley. In the middle of the valley, where countless silks gathered, a huge cocoon appeared. One could vaguely see the shape of a human, and there was a strong aura of sword intent surging around it. This. Nie Tian reacted after a long time. He was shocked and speechless. He did not know what Mori Shire did to Yu Jingchen. Brat, what are you doing? At this time, the Scarlet Life Dan Heart suddenly roared. His aura was so powerful that the entire valley shook. Don't be rash. This is the most crucial moment. If anything goes wrong, this innate sword embryo will definitely die. Mori Shire's voice rang out, and there was a hint of evil in it. At the same time, there was also a strong sense of threat. Damn it! The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart roared, but its figure stopped. Brother Scarlet Fate, let's retreat first. At this time, Qing Qi seemed to have noticed something and stepped forward to advise. Scarlet Life Loyal Heart's eyes were surging with anger. Obviously, it was very angry, but it still left the valley. Nie Tian frowned and followed him out of the valley. After that, they waited outside the valley. After half a day, Mori Shire finally walked out of the valley. His face was a little pale, as if he had used a lot of power and was a little weak. You brat, how dare you help him remove the seal? At this time, the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart roared and took a step forward. Suddenly, a terrifying sword intent whistled out and directly enveloped Mori Shire. It was like an invisible giant hand, firmly suppressing him. Senior Scarlet Life. Nie Tian's eyes trembled as he cried out. He was really worried that the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart would impulsively kill Mori Shire. He did not have a good impression of Mori Shire, but Mori Shire had too many secrets, and these secrets were closely related to him. Therefore, he did not want Mori Shire to die. Brother Scarlet Life, don't be so agitated. Qing Qi also stepped forward, looking very nervous. President of the Martial Sky Academy, Yu Jingchen has an innate sword embryo, but you forcibly suppressed him. This is not the way to cultivate a sword genius. However, Mori Shire was very calm. He laughed and said, I'm just helping Yu Jingchen remove the seal on the sword embryo. Why are you so nervous? I will remove his seal myself. Why do you need to interfere? The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart roared and stared at Mori Shire with murderous eyes. However, there was only anger and no killing intent. What was even stranger was that Nie Tian sensed a trace of panic from the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart. It seemed that the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart had discovered something on Mori Shire that made him very afraid. Humph. Mori Shire sneered and said, I didn't want to interfere, but Yu Jingchen's Yuan meridians were already destroyed. If I didn't interfere, I'm afraid he would be a corpse by now. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart's eyes were extremely gloomy, and he was momentarily speechless. Nie Tian had already told him about Yu Jingchen's situation. No matter what, it was true that Mori Shire had saved Yu Jingchen's life. President of the Martial Sky Academy, why are you so worried about the seal on Yu Jingchen's sword embryo? Do you have any ulterior motives? Mori Shire laughed and said coldly. Brat, aren't you afraid that I will kill you? The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart said in a low voice. Kill me? Doomsday smiled, releasing a strange aura from his body as he arrogantly said, Do you dare? When the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart sensed Mori Shire's aura, its eyes trembled and its face stiffened. It couldn't react for a long time. Qing Chi's face also sank. When Nie Tian saw their reactions, he couldn't help but frown and his heart sank. What secret did these two discover about Mori Shire? Why did they lose their composure like this? The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and Qing Chi were both great figures in the All Heavens sacred world. They had experienced countless storms in their lives, so what could make them so panicked? What secret did Mori Shire have? This is impossible. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. After a long time, the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart finally reacted. Its eyes trembled as if it had gone mad. It stared at the 12 apocalypses and shouted, How could you be that person? Nie Tian's expression flickered again, and he was even more shocked. It seemed that the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart already knew who Mori Shire was, but it didn't even dare to say Mori Shire's true identity. What kind of person could make the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart lose its composure like this? Humph! Mori Shire sneered and said coldly, Scarlet Life Loyal Heart, since you know who I am, do you still dare to kill me? You puff. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart's eyes trembled again, and then it spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Nie Tian immediately stepped forward and supported the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart. What was going on? Who was Mori Shire? How could the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart be so scared? Scarlet Life Loyal Heart, you sealed the innate sword embryo. Others may not know what you're planning, but I do. Then, Mori Shire smiled and said, But you underestimated the power of the innate sword embryo. Even if I don't remove the seal, it will be difficult to maintain. Chapter 4083. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart's eyes narrowed when it heard Mori Shire's words, and its face froze once again. Sword embryo mutate. It had never expected that the sword embryo that it had sealed in Yu Jingchen's body would mutate. Humph! The 12th Apocalypse smiled sinisterly. He stared at the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and said, Scarlet Life Loyal Heart, it's undeniable that you are a Grandmaster of the Way of the Sword. Even in the entire All Heaven Saints world, there are only a handful of people who surpass you in terms of the Way of the Sword. Unfortunately, you don't understand the natural sword embryo. Although your seal is strong, it can only suppress the sword embryo for a while. I know what you're thinking better than you do. I can tell you right now that what you want to do to Yu Jingchen won't work. After he finished speaking, the 12th Apocalypse's eyes narrowed slightly, and a strange expression appeared on his face. He sighed and said, The mutation of the sword embryo in Yu Jingchen's body is an opportunity for him, but whether or not he can survive this crisis will depend on his own luck. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart's eyes suddenly trembled. It seemed very flustered and could not speak for a moment. When Nie Tian saw this, his heart sank and his expression changed. Could it be that Mori Shire was right? Did the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart really have an ulterior motive for sealing Yu Jingchen's sword embryo? Qing Chi's expression was also a little strange. He looked at the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart with a gloomy expression. When he heard that the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart had sealed Yu Jingchen's sword embryo, he had a guess, but he was not sure. Looking at the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart's reaction, he was right. After a long time, the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart calmed down a lot. Its eyes trembled as it asked nervously, "Is Jingchen all right?" Cultivators with natural sword embryos have to endure the natural pressure of the sword embryo, so only a few can survive. Morishire laughed and said, Yu Jingchen's sword embryo has been sealed since he was young, so he has never experienced the pressure of the sword embryo. Now that the sword embryo has been unsealed and has become stronger after the mutation, it is equivalent to him enduring double or even triple the pressure of the sword embryo. In this situation, his chances of survival are not high. This Scarlet Life Dan Xian's eyes trembled and he was suddenly speechless. Could it be that his own selfish desires had really harmed Yu Jingchen? However, if he can survive this calamity, then it will be a blessing in disguise. Morishire smiled and said, "After the mutation, the sword embryo is more than a few times stronger than an ordinary sword embryo. As long as Yu Jingchen survives this calamity, his future achievements in the Sword Dao will definitely surpass those of the Yang God Sword Emperor." When Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and the others heard what Morishire said, they were stunned. "Morishire, in your opinion, what are the chances of Yu Jingchen surviving?" After a while, Nie Tian became cold. He took a deep breath and asked with a burning gaze. "Humph." Morishire paused for a moment before he let out a strange laugh and said, "In my opinion, it is impossible for Yu Jingchen to survive." Nie Tian's eyes trembled, and his expression froze again. Morishire and Qing Qi's expressions also changed, and they stood rooted to the ground. Not to mention Yu Jingchen, even Nie Tian's martial body cannot withstand the pressure of the double sword embryo. Morishire smiled again, then shook his head and sighed. "It is a pity that a natural sword embryo died just like that." Then, he stared at the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart with a playful expression. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart's face was extremely gloomy, and there was a deep sense of exhaustion in it. It was as if it had aged dozens of years in an instant. "Senior Scarlet Life, I want to know why you sealed Yu Jingchen's sword embryo back then." At this time, Nie Tian looked at the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and asked. "Nie Tian." Qing Qi's eyes trembled, and he immediately shouted. He did not expect Nie Tian to ask so directly. However, Nie Tian stopped Qing Qi with a wave of his hand. He stared at the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and said, "I want to know why." The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart's expression was ugly, but at a certain moment, his eyes suddenly flashed with determination and he said, "To take away his sword embryo." "I knew it." Nie Tian's eyes narrowed and he clenched his fists slightly. In fact, he had already guessed it, but when he confirmed it, he was still shocked. In his impression, the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart had always been a loyal elder, and he did not expect it to do such a thing. Taking away someone's sword embryo was no different from taking away someone's bloodline. A natural sword embryo could achieve the legendary state of being one with the sword. This was a fatal temptation to any swordsman. If this had happened to anyone else, Nie Tian wouldn't have been surprised. However, it was not possible for the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart was the messenger of the universe, and it could not do such a thing. Apart from suppressing the sword embryo, the seal I left behind can also absorb its power. At this time, the Scarlet Life Dan Heart continued. I originally wanted to wait until the seal completely absorbed the sword embryo, then remove the seal. This way, Yu Jingchen wouldn't be harmed, but he will never know that he is a sword embryo swordsman. However, I didn't expect that I would underestimate the power of the sword embryo. While the seal was absorbing the power of the sword embryo, it also made the sword embryo stronger, which eventually led to the mutation of the sword embryo. After that, the Scarlet Life Dan Xian let out a long sigh, and his whole person looked even older. Did you steal Yu Jingchen's sword embryo just to make yourself stronger? Nie Tian frowned and asked in a deep voice. Yes. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart suddenly growled and said, Big Brother Dongwang died without a clear reason. As his Starry Sky messenger, I can't protect him or avenge him. Why? Because I'm not strong enough. Only by becoming stronger can I avenge him. Is it wrong for me to do this? Brother Scarlet Life, you. Qing-Chi saw that the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart had suddenly lost control and could not help but take a step forward, but he did not know what to say. Nie Tian looked at the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart, and his eyes were cold and solemn, without the slightest trace of fear. Scarlet Life Loyal Heart, your idea is right, but your method is wrong. Stealing someone else's sword platform is not what a gentleman would do. Even if you use this method to avenge him, it is not what Senior Dongwang wants to see. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart looked at Nie Tian, and its eyes trembled and it was stunned. In Nie Tian, it clearly saw the shadow of Dongwang Jingrong. For a moment, it even felt that Nie Tian was Dongwang Jingrong. Scarlet Life Loyal Heart, let me ask you, if I can save you Jingchen, will I still steal his sword embryo? At this time, Nie Tian looked at the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and asked solemnly. This. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart's expression changed, and it was speechless. Will you steal it or not? Nie Tian roared at this time, like a wild beast. No, I won't steal it. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart's eyes suddenly became hot, as if it had just woken up from a dream. Nie Tian's face was gloomy, and the anger in his eyes gradually subsided. Chapter 4084. Many Yu Jingchen? Mori Shire was stunned and confused, as he did not understand what Nie Tian was trying to do. What do you mean? Qing-Chi was also stunned as he did not know what Nie Tian was trying to do. Many Yu Jingchen. Nie Tian smiled faintly and voiced his idea. His idea was to create many sword will doppelgangers for Yu Jingchen and use them to help Yu Jingchen bear the pressure from the sword embryo. He had already used this method on Rui Qianyu once. When Rui Qianyu had awakened the 10 Annihilation Evil Woman, she had also faced the danger of not being able to bear the pressure. Fat Cat had used the help of the formation to allow Rui Qianyu to condense several doppelgangers and eventually helped Rui Qianyu to successfully awaken the 10 Annihilation Evil Woman. Yu Jingchen's situation was very similar to that of Rui Qianyu, which was why Nie Tian had thought of the same method. Will this method work? Doomsday laughed coldly, a disdainful expression on his face. He didn't think Nie Tian's method would work. Yu Jingchen is unconscious now, so it is impossible for him to condense the sword will doppelgangers. Qing-Chi took a step forward and frowned. He was also doubtful. Of course, Yu Jingchen can't form a sword intent doppelganger by himself, so he'll need the help of another grand formation. Nie Tian smiled faintly and confidently explained his plan to Yu Jingchen. He had already asked Fat Cat, who had provided him with a detailed method. According to Fat Cat, Yu Jingchen had to first condense the heaven, earth, and human sword will doppelgangers using the Tri-Talent Holy Formation. Then, he would use the other formation to allow the heaven, earth, and human sword will doppelgangers to help Yu Jingchen bear the pressure from the sword embryo. The heaven, earth, and human sword will doppelgangers formed by the Tri-Talent Holy Formation were much stronger than Yu Jingchen's body. Hence, the 3 doppelgangers would be able to bear most of the pressure from the sword embryo. This way, Yu Jingchen's chances of successfully withstanding the pressure from the sword embryo would be greatly increased. After listening to Nie Tian's words, Qing-Chi pondered for a long while before nodding and saying, this method should work. When Rui Qianyu had awakened the 10 Annihilation Evil Woman, he had helped her, so he understood the formation very well. Is there anything I can help you with? Red Life Loyal Heart asked with a fiery gaze. With a faint smile, Nie Tian nodded and said, Senior Crimson Life, I'll have to trouble you to form Yu Jingchen's doppelgangers with the tricolored sacred formation. The Crimson Life Loyal Heart had indeed done something wrong before, but now he wanted to repent and mend his ways. Nie Tian certainly would not refuse. Yes. Scarlet Life Dan Xian nodded firmly. Following that, the crowd did not waste any time and started to get busy. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart activated the three greats' sacred array and formed a sword will clone for Yu Jingchen, while Qing Qi and Little Fat Cat started to set up the array. On the other hand, Nie Tian had nothing to do. To avoid disturbing Scarlet Life Dan Xian and the others, Nie Tian left the Nine Extremities with Mori Shire and Xie Tianquang. He was also worried about something else. It was strange that Jun Jianqing had yet to revive. However, he couldn't care too much for now. Forbidden Star Souls could revive Star Monarchs, so Jun Jianqing should be fine. Nie Tian, you are indeed not an ordinary person. After walking out of the Nine Extremities, Mori Shire stared at Nie Tian with a playful smile and said, Yu Jingchen is really lucky to have met you. Mori Shire, stop pretending. Nie Tian smiled and said, Do you think I can't tell? Even if I don't save Yu Jingchen, you have a way to save him, right? However, there are conditions for you to save them, right? Haha. Doomsday's eyes flickered slightly as he looked at Nie Tian. He couldn't help but laugh and say, as expected of Nie Tian, Your mind is indeed extraordinary. Indeed, he already had a way to save Yu Jingchen. He just didn't say it because he wanted to give Nie Tian another condition. What he didn't expect was that Nie Tian actually thought of a way to save Yu Jingchen. Moreover, it was even more reliable than his. You flatter me, Nie Tianling replied with a smile. Although he could see through Mori Shire's thoughts, he had to admit that Mori Shire was a shrewd person. Nie Tian faintly felt that Mori Shire was more difficult to deal with than Qi Shi knew. Nie Tian, although you've thought of a way to save Yu Jingchen, don't forget our agreement. Mori Shire smiled again and reminded Nie Tian. Don't worry. After the Hidden Dragon battle, I will naturally cooperate with you and let you obtain the 9 extreme Qi. Nie Tian's lips curled into a cold smile. That's good. Mori Shire nodded and turned around to leave. However, he suddenly thought of something and turned around. He looked at Nie Tian and asked, Nie Tian, do you know what the 5 academies will give out this time? I don't know. When Nie Tian heard Mori Shire mention this, his eyes flashed with surprise and he shook his head. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and Qing Qi had just discussed this matter, and now Mori Shire actually brought it up again. How could Nie Tian not be surprised? It seemed like Mori Shire also knew what the reward for the 5 academies' martial leaders was. Nie Tian could not help but be more curious. What exactly was this reward that so many big shots were concerned about? Nie Tian still did not know who Mori Shire was. However, from the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and Qing Qi's reaction, Mori Shire definitely had a shocking identity. Do you want to know? Mori Shire seemed to see something in Nie Tian's eyes and asked with a faint smile. Yes. Nie Tian did not pretend and said directly. Humph. Mori Shire laughed strangely and said, Haven't you always wanted to know the origin of the 9 extreme Chaos Beast? If you can get that reward, you will understand where the 9 extreme Chaos Beast came from. Nie Tian frowned and could not help but be stunned. He never thought that the reward for the 5 academies' martial leaders, the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and the thing that Qing Qi said could affect the All-Heaven Sacred World's lifeline, were actually related to the 9 extreme Chaos Beast. In the next moment, Nie Tian's eyes flashed with unconcealable passion. He was determined to get the 5 academies' martial leaders. Now that the reward was related to the 9 extreme Chaos Beast, he was even more determined to get the position of martial leader. Nie Tian, that thing alarmed the entire All-Heaven Sacred World. I'm afraid that even if you can get it, you won't be able to keep it, Mori Shire could not help but say with a smile when he felt the passion in Nie Tian's eyes. Chapter 4085. Mori Shire did not say anything else and turned to leave. Nie Tian looked at Mori Shire's back and did not look good. He had a feeling that Mori Shire was plotting something and had been guiding him in the dark. Could it be that Mori Shire was also doing this for the Wu Kuei reward? Boss, I think this person is too cunning. It's not good for you to be too close to him. Xie Tianquang suddenly looked at Nie Tian and said seriously. Nie Tian went blank for a moment, then smiled and said, I see. If even Xie Tianquang could see that Mori Shire was cunning, then there must be something wrong with him. For the next half a month, Nie Tian did not only pay attention to the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and Qing Chi's progress, but he also cultivated. The opponents he would face in the Hidden Dragon battle were too strong. With his current strength, it would be too difficult for him to reach the end. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Within half a month, Nie Tian's strength had a breakthrough from Tianyi Tier 2 to Tianyi Tier 3. This kind of improvement was not of any real help to him. It was better than nothing. As for the universe singularity, he did not dare to recklessly merge with it. He could not afford to take that kind of risk. In this half a month, the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and Qing Chi had finished dealing with Yu Jingqian. Yu Jingqian was in the array, waiting for the moment when the seal on the sword embryo was completely removed. At this time, Nie Tian, the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart, and Qing Chi stood on the square outside the Myriad Yuan Pavilion and were about to go to the Haoyan Square. Nie Tian, your strength has made a breakthrough again. That's great. Sensing Nie Tian's aura, the Crimson Life Loyal Heart laughed heartily. I didn't expect you to grow so fast. Indeed, Nie Tian's speed of growth was extremely terrifying for any martial artist. Even the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart, the Starry Sky Holy Lord, was shocked. My current strength is still too weak compared to the other top 64 martial artists. Nie Tian sighed softly and said, I don't know if I can make it to the last step in the Hidden Dragon battle. Scarlet Life Loyal Essence and Qing Chi heard Nie Tian's words and became silent at the same time. Although they knew that Nie Tian's talent was terrifying and hoped that Nie Tian would win, they didn't have much confidence at the moment. Nie Tian was currently a third-tier Heavenly Justice Great Lord. He should be the weakest among the top 64. His opponents included Zhu Shi, Xiao Wanjie, and other pinnacle geniuses. Therefore, both Qi Ming and Qing Chi felt that the chances of Nie Tian reaching the final step were slim to none. Seniors, I have something to ask you, Yang Kai said. At this moment, Nie Tian suddenly remembered something. His eyes trembled slightly, and he told him about Jun Jianxing. Turned out that after Jun Jianxing was killed by King Shang, he left behind the destroying Earth Star Soul, but it was not reborn. Now that a long time had passed, Nie Tian couldn't help but worry. The Forbidden Star Soul is still there, but the Star Lord has not been reborn. This is not normal. Qing Chi frowned after hearing Nie Tian's words. He was also puzzled. There is only one explanation for this situation. The Scarlet Life Loyal Essence's face darkened. He glanced at Nie Tian and said, when the destroying Earth Star Lord was killed, his strength was too strong, causing him to be separated from the destroying Earth Star Soul. Qing Chi frowned and nodded. In fact, he had also thought of this, but he didn't want Nie Tian to worry, so he didn't say it. Nie Tian's expression changed, and he was suddenly speechless. He didn't expect the situation to be so serious. Could it be that Jun Jianxing was really dead? Nie Tian, don't worry too much. Perhaps it's something else. Qing Chi looked at Nie Tian and said with a forced smile. Yeah. Nie Tian nodded and didn't say anything else. There was no point in worrying now. Whether Jun Jianxing could be reborn was no longer up to him. Everything else would depend on Jun Jianxing's luck. Afterwards, Nie Tian and the others did not linger. They arrived at Haoyan Square very soon. At this moment, vast Cloud Square was already filled with a sea of people. When one looked down from high up in the sky, it was filled with a dense mass of people. A rough estimate would place there at least 1 million people. So many people, Nie Tian smiled bitterly. He never thought the Hidden Dragon battle would be so grand. Of course. Qing Chi chuckled and said, every time the 5 academies recruit students, It's a major event that shakes up the all-heaven sacred world. All the sects, clans, and organizations that have some strength in the entire all-heaven sacred world will send people to participate. As for the Hidden Dragon battle, that's the battle before the top 64. It represents the apex of the young cultivators of the all-heaven sacred world. There are so many sects and clans. Who wouldn't want to witness such a grand spectacle? That's true, Nie Tian said with a smile, but he was silent inwardly. It was extremely likely that important figures who would influence the entire all-heaven sacred world would appear in the top 64 of the Hidden Dragon battle. It was indeed a good opportunity to witness their battle. The 5 Academies' recruitment this time is different from the past. Then, the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart said, aside from the spectators, the upper echelon of the 5 Academies have probably all arrived. Qing Qi nodded with a smile. Since Zhugeqian has come, the other 4 principals are probably here as well. Yes. The corner of the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart's lips twitched. The Haoyun Square seems to be bustling right now, but it's actually the most heavily guarded place in the all-heaven sacred world. The experts of the 5 Academies, and even the organizations behind them, have sent experts over to guard the square together. Qing Qi's eyes narrowed slightly, his gaze sweeping across the entire vast cloud plaza, and he said with a smile, the entire vast cloud plaza is enveloped by a grand array and barrier. I'm afraid that the current defense is not much different from my Myriad Yuan Pavilion. The 5 Academies have really put in a lot of effort for that thing. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart nodded again and said, only that thing is worth such a great deal of effort. The Hidden Dragon battle this time really is a gathering of the best in the all-heaven sacred world. Qing Qi chuckled with a sliver of excitement. Nie Tian's eyes could not help but light up when he heard the 2 of them. Of course, he knew what the 2 of them were talking about. It was the reward the 5 Academies had given to Wu Kuei. At the same time, it was something related to the 9th-level chaotic beast that Mori Shire had told him about. Senior Scarlet Life. At this moment, Nie Tian's eyes suddenly trembled. He called out to the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart. What's wrong? The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart could not help but be taken aback. Chapter 4086. Nie Tian, are you serious? It took a long time for the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart to react. It looked at Nie Tian and asked with uncertainty. Because Nie Tian's expression at this time seemed to confirm that he could get that thing. But that thing could only be obtained by the Martial King of the 5 Academies. Unless Nie Tian was 100% confident that he could become the Martial King of the 5 Academies. Do I look like I'm joking? Nie Tian smiled faintly. His calm expression revealed a domineering confidence. I can't keep it. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart was stunned again. After a few seconds of silence, it said in a deep voice. Nie Tian frowned and turned to look at Qing Qi. Nie Tian, that thing is involved in too many things. Even if I use all the power of the 10,000 yuan pavilion, I may not be able to keep it. Qing Qi, of course, understood what Nie Tian meant. He frowned and shook his head. That thing was targeted by many forces. Although the Heaven Martial Arts Association and the 10,000 Yuan Pavilion were very powerful organizations, it was impossible for them to keep it. In fact, the 5 Academies also knew that once that thing appeared, it would definitely cause a great disturbance. The reason why they used that thing as a reward for the Martial King was because they had no other choice. And everyone knew that that thing would not fall into the hands of the Martial King of the 5 Academies. The 5 Academies' move was nothing more than to use that thing to draw out some hidden forces. That was all. But at this time, Nie Tian's expression seemed to be determined to get that thing, which surprised the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and Qing Qi. After a while, the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart calmed down a lot and reminded Nie Tian, this is not a trivial matter. Don't act recklessly. There was an ominous premonition in his heart, and it was getting stronger and stronger, which made him very uneasy. I understand. Nie Tian nodded with a smile and said nothing more. Then, Zhou Yu's figure appeared in the sky again. After a few simple words, he announced the start of the hidden dragon battle. It's starting so soon? Nie Tian couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. He originally thought that the high-level figures of the 5 academies would appear one by one and then each give an inspiring speech. The higher-ups of the 5 academies are hiding behind the scenes and won't show up easily. Qing Qi certainly knew what Nie Tian was thinking and said with a faint smile. So that's how it is. Nie Tian chuckled. It seemed that it wouldn't be easy for him to meet the higher-ups of the angel race. Then, the hidden dragon battle began. The rules of the hidden dragon battle were relatively simple. The top 64 would fight in pairs, and the winner would advance to the next round, while the loser would be eliminated until the champion was decided. In order to prevent the strong martial artists from meeting each other early, the Hidden Dragon Tournament had evaluated the strength of the top 64 contestants. The top 32 martial artists would fight against the martial artists ranked at the bottom 32, and the martial artists ranked at the top would have the right to choose their opponents first. For example, Xiao Wanjie was currently ranked first. He could choose his own opponent, but it had to be a martial artist ranked at the bottom 32. As for Nie Tian, although his strength was not outstanding, his previous performance was very good. Coupled with his advantage in points, he was evaluated to be ranked 15th. In other words, Nie Tian could choose his 15th opponent. In next to no time, there were martial artists that stepped onto the 4 arenas of the Hidden Dragon battle. 4 battles took place at the same time, and for a moment it was dazzling to watch. Half a day later, the first 12 battles ended. Without any surprise, the top 12 martial artists won and successfully entered the next round of battles. As for the losing martial artists, they were directly eliminated. Soon, it was Nie Tian's turn to choose his opponent. He didn't choose a martial artist ranked at the bottom, but chose the martial artist ranked at the 45th place. After choosing his opponent, Nie Tian's figure moved, and he directly stepped onto the arena. Boom! At the same time he stepped onto the stage, a rumbling sound rang out in the air. After that, a tall and sturdy silhouette descended from the sky like an iron tower, causing the entire stage to tremble slightly. When Nie Tian saw the martial artist in front of him, his eyes couldn't help but tremble. Then, he smiled and said, "It seems that you are a martial artist with strength." The person in front of him was close to 3 meters tall, and all the muscles on his body bulged. Just by standing there, he gave off a strong sense of deterrence. "My name is Qiu Wusheng." The man nodded slightly and said, "I have seen your previous battles. Especially the battle where you defeated the King Warrior, it was indeed very powerful. If I am not wrong, your martial body is also very strong." "Yes." Nie Tian nodded slightly, waiting for Qiu Wusheng to continue. "How about we compete in martial body?" Qiu Wusheng took a step forward and said heavily, "All right." Nie Tian smiled and agreed. "All right." Qiu Wusheng's eyes darkened, and he let out a low roar. Then, his figure directly moved, as fast as a dragon, and he punched out, oppressing Nie Tian. Nie Tian felt the wind from the punch coming from the void, and the corner of his mouth pulled into a faint smile. Boom! But at that moment the wind from the punch suddenly changed. Instead, it was replaced by a horrifying shadow of a fist. It was as heavy as a mountain, and it headed straight for Nie Tian. Qiu Wusheng said that he would only compete in martial body, but he went back on his words. He directly used a powerful martial skill in an attempt to injure or even kill Nie Tian when he was caught off guard. Facing this sudden change, Nie Tian's face was as calm as still water, and he didn't panic at all. 9 limits of the starry sky, annihilation of the sun. In the next moment, he directly slashed out with his sword. Instantly, an infinite amount of sword energy surged up to the sky, and formed a horrifying shadow of a sword that rushed out. Bang! Then, the fist and the sword collided, and a muffled sound was heard in the void, and a horrifying wave of qi surged out. Qiu Wuxing immediately felt a horrifying impact coming towards him. In a panic, he directly flew back a few hundred meters, and almost fell out of the arena. You! He steadied his body, and his eyes stared at Nie Tian. Just as he was about to say something, he violently spat out a mouthful of blood. You what? Nie Tianling laughed mockingly and said, Do you really think I'm a 3-year-old child, and I'll believe your nonsense? Damn it! Qiu Wuxing's eyes trembled, and he was suddenly enraged. His entire body's qi crazily surged, and waves of powerful energy rushed out, shaking the void. However, at that moment, Nie Tian's expression slightly changed, and he let out a cry of surprise. In the next moment, his expression suddenly became shocked, and he suddenly looked around, as if he was looking for something. At that moment, he suddenly had an inexplicable feeling, similar to the resonance of the astral soul, but also very different. It was as if someone was injecting some kind of energy into his astral soul. This kind of thing was too strange, and Nie Tian had never experienced it before. Chapter 4087. OM. The cry of a sword rang through the air as the sword's shadow dashed forward, shaking the heavens and earth. Bang! With a muffled sound, Qiu Wuxing's figure was sent flying, leaving a trail of blood in the air as he fell off the arena. The shocking scene caused everyone's eyes to tremble, and they all cried out in alarm. Their expressions were blank. No one had expected Nie Tian's instantaneous burst of power to be so powerful. This move is... At that moment, the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and Qing Qi's eyes also trembled as their expressions changed. Then they froze. They had clearly seen something and were extremely shocked. How could this sword be so powerful? Nie Tianling stood alone in the air above the arena, his eyes trembling slightly. His face was not filled with joy but with disbelief. He had not expected that his sword would be so powerful. Yin-yang reversal. In the next instant, his eyes trembled as he exclaimed. He suddenly realized that the sword just now was the 7th of the 9 limits of the starry sky, yin-yang reversal. How is this possible? He was dumbfounded and could not react for a long time. The 9 limits of the starry sky was a set of martial techniques that appeared above the 9th galaxy. All this time, Nie Tian had only comprehended the 6th limit. He had not been able to comprehend the 7th, 8th, and 9th limits, so he could not use them. After the starry sky slash was replaced by the sky sword, Nie Tian rarely used the 9 limits of the starry sky. He had always felt that the sky sword could not fully unleash the power of the 9 limits of the starry sky. But just now, he had felt an inexplicable reaction, so he had used the 9 limits of the starry sky on a whim. He had not expected that he would suddenly comprehend the 7th limit of the starry sky, yin-yang reversal. The power of the yin-yang reversal had greatly exceeded his expectations. It had sent Qiu Wuxing flying with one strike. Could that aura have something to do with the 9th star emissary? In the next instant, Nie Tian's eyes trembled as he was shocked by a guess. He felt that the reason he could suddenly comprehend the yin-yang reversal must have something to do with the inexplicable feeling he had sensed. The starry sky 9 limits should belong to the 9th starry sky emissary. Therefore, he speculated that the aura just now was most likely the 9th star sky envoy. Each of the 9 great starry sky envoys was stronger than the last. Up until now, the strongest messenger Nie Tian had met was the 8th messenger, the sacred heaven ancestor's Scarlet Life Loyal Heart. Even if the strength of the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart could not reach the peak of the All Heavens sacred world, it was definitely at the top. The 9th starry sky messenger was definitely much stronger than the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart. It would be great if the 9th starry sky emissary appeared. Thinking up to this point, Nie Tian's eyes couldn't help but light up, and he seemed very excited. However, that aura disappeared in a flash. He wanted to lock onto it, but he couldn't find it at all. Nia Tian, what kind of sword technique is this? Qiu Wuxing steadied himself at this moment. His eyes were filled with anger as he growled in a low voice. He could not accept that he had lost to Nia Tian just like that. Moreover, that sword technique just now was too terrifying. If it wasn't for his powerful martial body, he would have died without a corpse. You don't deserve to know. Nia Tianling laughed. His figure moved and he jumped off the stage. He didn't want to bother with people like Qiu Wuxing. Qiu Wuxing's eyes trembled. He was obviously very angry, but he didn't dare to move. If he dared to make a move at this moment, he would simply be courting death. Nia Tian easily won and smoothly entered the next round. He was very happy and returned to the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and Qing Qi's side. Seniors, what's wrong? At this moment, he noticed that the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and Qing Qi's expressions were strange and couldn't help but frown. Nia Tian, what's the name of the sword technique you just used? The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart looked at Nia Tian with a strange expression and asked. Nia Tian frowned. His eyes swept over Scarlet Life and Qing Qi and said, I just used the 7th limit of the Starry Sky 9 limits, Yin and Yang reversal. Sure enough, the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and Qing Qi's expressions changed at the same time when they heard Nia Tian's words. Seniors, what's wrong with you? Nia Tian saw the reaction of the two and couldn't help but ask with a gloomy expression. Nia Tian, when did you learn Yin and Yang reversal? The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart completely ignored Nia Tian's words and continued to ask with fiery eyes. Just now. Nia Tian felt even more strange and nodded. Just now? The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and Qing Qi exclaimed again at the same time. They looked at each other and said in shock, Could it be what? This time it was Nia Tian's turn to ask in surprise. It was obvious that the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and Qing Qi had discovered something, most likely related to the Starry Sky 9 limits and the 9th Starry Sky Messenger. Nia Tian, do you know that there are restrictions in the Starry Sky 9 limits? After a while, the two calmed down and Qing Qi looked at Nia Tian and said, A restrictive spell? Nia Tian was taken aback, his face filled with astonishment. How could there be restrictions in the sword technique? Qing Qi's face sank and said, The first 6 limits are ordinary sword techniques, but after the 7th limit, there are restrictions added to the sword technique, and it can't be practiced at all. Can't be practiced? Nia Tian was shocked and asked, Then how did I use Yin and Yang reversal just now? Under normal circumstances, you can't practice it. The corner of Qing Qi's mouth twitched, and he said with a strange expression, But if the restriction is removed, of course you can use it. Senior, you mean that someone secretly helped me remove the restriction of the 7th limit? Nia Tian's heart trembled, and he looked at Qing Qi with fiery eyes and asked, Who is that person? There is only one person who can remove the restriction of the Starry Sky 9 limits, and that is the creator of the technique. Qing Qi's eyes darkened and he said in a deep voice, The 9th Starry Sky Messenger. Nia Tian's eyes trembled and he exclaimed. It seemed that he had guessed correctly. The 9th Starry Sky Messenger had really arrived. Perhaps. But at this moment, Qing Qi frowned and said with a wry smile, Perhaps? Nia Tian was taken aback and he couldn't help but look at the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart and asked, The creator of the Starry Sky 9 limits is not the 9th Starry Sky Messenger. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart's expression darkened. The Starry Sky 9 limits was indeed created by the 9th Starry Sky Messenger, but that person absolutely cannot appear. Chapter 4088. The Crimson Life Loyal Heart looked at Nia Tian, clearly hesitating. It didn't speak for a long while. Senior Qing Qi, what does Senior Scarlet Life mean? Growing anxious, Nia Tian couldn't help but turn to Qing Qi and ask, Don't tell me that the 9th emissary has already died? The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart said that the 9th Star Messenger would never appear. Was it implying that the 9th Star Messenger was no longer in this world? That's not it. Qingqi shook his head and turned to look at the Scarlet Life Loyal Heart. The latter had a strange look in its eyes, but it nodded in the end. Then, he turned to Nie Tian and said, "That's because the ninth emissary is a sworn enemy of His Excellency, the Star God." Upon hearing the last two words, Nie Tian's pupils constricted, and he exclaimed, "Mortal enemies?" He knew that the Star Sacred Leader Qingqi was referring to was Donghuang Jingrong. The problem was, the Star Messenger was born to protect the Star Sacred Leader. Why would the ninth Star Messenger and Donghuang Jingrong be mortal enemies? Nie Tian, this is too complicated. I can't explain it in a short time. You just have to remember, if you have the chance to meet the ninth Starry Sky Envoy in the future, do not ever trust him. Qingqi frowned deeply and said after a long silence. Nie Tian knew that Qingqi did not want to say too much, so he nodded and did not ask any more questions. But in this case, the doubts in his heart grew heavier. If the person that he felt was not the ninth Star Messenger, then who was it? Moreover, who was the one that broke the seal on the seventh limit of the Star Nine limits? Was there someone else other than the ninth Star Messenger who could break the seal? A series of questions hovered in Nie Tian's mind, pressing down on him like huge rocks, making it hard for him to breathe. Nie Tian, don't think too much. Focus on the hidden dragon battle. The Scarlet Life Loyal Heart said when it saw that Nie Tian was a little annoyed. Nie Tian nodded. There was no point in thinking too much now. It would only add to his annoyance. Qingqi, I'll be leaving first. I'll have to trouble you to look after this place. The Scarlet Life Loyal Essence bade farewell to Qingqi and left. Nie Tian looked at the place where the Scarlet Life Dan Heart disappeared and frowned. Senior Qingqi, what is Senior Scarlet Life going to do? The sudden departure of the Scarlet Life Dan Heart made him feel uneasy. I'm fine. Qingqi smiled faintly and did not say anything else. Next, the hidden dragon battle continued. Half a day later, the first round of battles ended. Without exception, the first 32 martial artists all advanced, while the last 32 martial artists were all eliminated. Then, the second round of battles began. Nie Tian was still ranked 15th among the remaining 32 martial artists. This also meant that he had the right to choose his opponent. Out of the top 32 warriors, other than Tang 13, Nie Tian was not familiar with the rest of them. Tang 13's situation was not looking good. He was ranked 27th among the top 32, which meant that he would have to fight against the top 16. Nie Tian had been paying attention to the first few battles, but he was not surprised. After all, the top few martial artists were much stronger than the rest. Therefore, it was not strange that they won easily. Nie Tian, these guys are going to be your formidable opponents. Qingqi sighed as he looked at Xiu Wanjie and the others who had already won their battles. It's hard to say who will be whose strong opponent. Nie Tian laughed. The light in his eyes caused people's hearts to tremble. Qingqi's face flashed with astonishment as his heart trembled. Every time Nie Tian revealed his confidence, it always made him excited. Perhaps Nie Tian's strongest point was that no matter who he faced, he was fearless. At this time, two silhouettes appeared on another battle stage, causing him to frown. It's your friend. Qingqi followed Nie Tian's gaze and his face changed. He smiled bitterly. He met Gong Yuzigue. It seems like his journey to the hidden dragon ends here. The two silhouettes on the battle stage were Gong Yuzigue and Tang 13. In this year's hidden dragon battle, Tang 13 was definitely a dark horse. It was just that Nie Tian's darkness was too dazzling that many people forgot about his existence. In most people's eyes, Tang 13 was someone who relied on luck to make it to the top 32. This was because he had never shown his combat prowess and his cultivation level was the same as Nie Tian, at the third level of Heavenly Righteous. The opponent he was facing right now was Gong Yuzigue, the fourth-ranked young master of the Demon Palace of 10,000 Note. Even someone as smart as Qing Qi felt that Tang 13 would definitely lose this battle. That's not for sure. Nie Tian chuckled. His eyes shone with a strange light. Qing Qi frowned and chuckled. He thought to himself, it seems like Nie Tian, the Star Saint, is not only confident in himself, he is confident in his friends. That's right, Nie Tian was confident in Tang 13. However, his trust was not just empty words. Tang 13 possessed the mysterious ghost eye. No one knew how strong she was right now. Furthermore, Tang 13 was the Azura tribe's holy demon blood lord. She had fused with the holy demon blood before. On the battle stage, Gong Yuzigue snickered, his face full of disdain. In his eyes, Tang 13 did not even have the right to be his opponent. The reason why he chose Tang 13 was because he wanted to enter the next round with ease. Am I an ant? Tang 13 chuckled. With a strange look in her eyes, she said, it seems like standing on the same stage as me has made you unhappy. You don't deserve to stand before me. Gong Yuzigue sensed the provocation in Tang 13's eyes and was enraged. His entire body's qi surged and waves of terrifying energy crashed against the space around him. It was as if the heaven and earth were about to explode. Not bad qi. Sadly, it's useless. Feeling the pressure, Tang 13 snickered and looked down on Gong Yuzigue. Die! Gong Yuzigue was completely infuriated. Growling, he slammed his palm forward. Instantly, sound waves filled the sky. Like a giant beast, it headed towards Tang 13. Everyone's eyes widened in excitement. They could already see the scene of Tang 13 being killed. Nie Tian couldn't help but shiver and his heart was in his throat. He had fought against Gong Yuzigue before and knew how powerful he was. Could Tang 13 handle it? But in the next second, something unbelievable happened. Chapter 4089. Hiss! The shocking scene on the arena caused everyone to gasp in unison, and their expressions froze as they were collectively petrified on the spot. Gong Yuzigi was defeated in one move and fell off the stage. This was something no one expected. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they would never believe it. Even the judge in the air was stunned by the scene before him. His expression was blank and he couldn't react for a long time. He couldn't believe that such an inconspicuous cultivator could defeat Gong Yuzigi in such a strange way. After a long time, everyone finally reacted and exclamations of surprise resounded. My God, what did I just see? Gong Yuzigi was defeated by him. Is this real? What technique did he use? How could he defeat Gong Yuzigi in one move? Who is he? How is he so powerful? Gasps could be heard continuously, demonstrating just how shocked everyone was. This was even more shocking and unbelievable than when Nie Tian turned the tables and defeated Gong Yuzigi. To know that Tang 13 didn't receive much attention before. Now that she had defeated Gong Yuzigi in one move, how could everyone not be shocked? Without exaggeration, after this battle, Tang 13's name would be known throughout the Saints' world. Nie Tian, your friend's methods are really... At this time, Qing Qi's dull expression finally came back to his senses. He looked at Nie Tian with trembling eyes, swallowed hard and said, he's really unpredictable. When Nie Tian said that Tang 13 might not necessarily lose, he was still doubtful. But the scene that was unfolding in front of his eyes woke him up. He even felt that Tang 13's strength was not any weaker than Nie Tian's. Tang 13's technique is truly unimaginable, Nie Tian said in a low voice, his eyes trembling. Needless to say, Tang 13's performance had far exceeded his expectations. Though he had some confidence in Tang 13, he wasn't so sure. Based on his speculation, even if Tang 13 could defeat Gong Yuzigi, it would be extremely difficult. However, the reality was that Tang 13 had defeated Gong Yuzigi like it was a game. Nie Tian, Kid Tang is not simple. He can actually fuse the power of the holy demon blood into the ghost eye. At this moment, Fat Cat couldn't help but exclaim, "This holy demon blood Kaiser is indeed extraordinary. It really is the power of the ghost eye." When Nye Tian heard Fat Cat's words, his eyes couldn't help but tremble, and his heart was filled with shock. He had already sensed the aura of Tang 13's ghost eye, but he could not believe that Tang 13's ghost eye had reached such a terrifying level. Although Tang 13 had defeated Gong Yuzigi due to Gong Yuzigi's carelessness, Tang 13's own strength was not to be underestimated. I lost? On the other side, in the void below the arena, Gong Yuzi's face was full of shock, as if he had just woken up from a dream. Obviously, he had not completely accepted the fact that he had been defeated. "If you call me an ant, then what are you?" Tang 13 stood high up in the air and laughed coldly. The disdain in her eyes was like a sharp knife that landed on Gong Yuzigui's face. Wretch. Gong Yuzigui's eyes widened as he felt the pressure on his chest. He then puked out a mouthful of blood. Tang 13 ignored him. She took a step forward and walked off the stage. "Damn it!" However, at that moment, Gong Yuzigui suddenly roared in anger. In the blink of an eye, he dashed towards Tang 13. His chi was extremely powerful. His demonic voice rumbled in the air, causing the air to turn misty. It was extremely terrifying. This shocking scene made everyone's eyes widen and they all gasped. Who would have thought that after losing, Gong Yuzigui would attack Tang 13? "Stop!" Almost at the same time, a low growl was heard. Then, a terrifying gust of ghostly chi appeared and forcefully suppressed Gong Yuzigui. "Devil Highness!" Gong Yuzigui's body froze. He raised his head and saw that the person who attacked was Xiao Wanjie. "You don't want to live anymore?" Xiao Wanjie's face was dark and cold. Gong Yuzigui's eyes widened and he immediately reacted. In a flash, he retreated. At this moment, he felt several auras appear in the void around him and then disappear. It was obvious that these chi were secretly arranged by the 5 academies to ensure that the Hidden Dragon battle would proceed smoothly. The Hidden Dragon battle was a grand gathering of the Holy World. Everyone in the world was watching, and it concerned the reputation of the 5 academies. They could not afford to lose it. Even though Gong Yuzigui was the young master of the Palace of Wailing, if he publicly disobeyed the rules of the Hidden Dragon battle, the 5 academies would kill him without hesitation. Luckily, Xiao Wanjie intervened in time. Otherwise, Gong Yuzigui would be a corpse by now. Nye Tian also felt the chi appear and disappear. His lips curled up and he felt much more at ease. It was a good thing that the 5 academies were taking the Hidden Dragon battle seriously. What he hoped for was a truly fair battle. Tang 13's victory over Gong Yuzigui caused quite a commotion. Everyone only calmed down after a long while. Next, the Hidden Dragon battle continued. However, the following battles did not have too big of a surprise. Very soon, it was Nye Tian's turn to go on stage. His opponent was a martial artist on the Hidden Sky role. He was not very strong, so he easily won. When Nye Tian went on stage, he hoped to sense that mysterious chi again. But regrettably, that chi did not appear. Roughly half a day later, the second round of battles ended. The top 16 of the Hidden Dragon battle were born. Nye Tian and Tang 13 both entered the top 16. However, at this time their situations were reversed. Nye Tian ranked 15th among the top 16. This also meant that he would be chosen as an opponent by the top 8 martial artists. And because Tang 13 defeated Gong Yuzigui, she replaced the latter's ranking and was ranked 3rd. She could choose her own opponent. However, Nye Tian was not worried. This was because he was very confident in his own strength. Even if the number 1 Xiao Wanjie chose him, he had no fear. After the top 16 martial artists rested for half a day, the third round of battles officially began. Very quickly, the top 4 martial artists chose their opponent. Xiao Wanjie, Sky's Saintess, Tang 13, and Yu Tianqi. None of them chose Nye Tian as their opponent. Sky's Saintus and Tang 13 didn't choose Nie Tian because they were friends with him. Xiao Wanjie and Yu Tianqi didn't choose Nie Tian because they were a little wary of him. In Xiao Wanjie's battle, his opponent directly surrendered. Therefore, everyone's focus was on Sky's Saintus battle. Chapter 4090. Huh! Nie Tian frowned when he heard what the fat cat said. His expression changed slightly. Then, he connected with the eternal night fox with his divine sense and released it toward the cultivator in black on the arena. Boom! But the next moment, he felt his divine soul shake. He took a few steps back and almost couldn't stand. The shocking scene made his face darken. He was speechless for a moment. His divine sense seemed to have been rebounded, and his divine soul was almost injured. There was a terrifying spiritual boundary inside the cultivator in black, making it impossible for others to perceive him. This person is not simple, Nie Tian said to himself as he steadied himself and calmed down. The fat cat didn't say anything. Obviously, it didn't find any valuable information on the cultivator in black. The fat cat probably only noticed that the cultivator in black was unusual and couldn't see anything else. At the same time, in the sky above the arena. Boom! The Sky Saintess stepped forward. Her aura bloomed and a golden light shone brightly. She was like a goddess descending to the mortal world, full of violent aura. Your Highness, your aura is not bad, but you don't stand a chance in this battle, the cultivator in black said. His face was cold and emotionless. Arrogant! The Sky Saintess growled and moved. She struck with her palm. Holy light blotted out the sky and pressed down on the cultivator in black. However, the cultivator in black was not afraid at all. Instead, he took a step forward and moved in an extremely strange manner. His footwork seemed slow, but it formed a series of afterimages in the void. The shadow of the palm fell, but it didn't hit the cultivator in black. It only hit the arena, and the surroundings rumbled. Huh! The Sky Saintess's beautiful eyes trembled slightly. She couldn't help but exclaim. She didn't expect that her opponent's movement technique would be so strange that he could directly avoid her attack. At that moment, several cultivators in black appeared in the void. They all had the same aura, and it was impossible to tell them apart. Is this all you've got? Seeing this, the Saintess of Heaven revealed a faint smile. Her body trembled, and a tremendous force surged out, turning into surging waves of air that swept out in all directions. However, the figures in the void were extremely nimble and easily avoided the shockwave. Your Highness the Holy Daughter, I've said it before. You have no chance in this battle. The black-clad cultivator's voice rang out from the void, his voice evil and filled with mockery. Impudent! The Heaven's Saintess flew into a rage and roared. Her aura surged and became much stronger than before. It was obvious that she hadn't used her full strength just now. She was truly enraged now. Kill! The Saintess of Heaven let out a low roar as a golden palm blasted out, carrying with it a murderous aura as it attacked a figure in the sky. However, the figure's movement technique was incomparably strange, and he actually dodged the palm's shadow once again. If the Saintess of Heaven only has this kind of strength, it would be too disappointing. The black-clothed martial artist's voice rang out again. There were already dozens of his figures in the void. Damn it! The Saintess of Heaven was infuriated. Each of her attacks was extremely powerful, but the opponent always dodged them. How could she not be angry? Outside the arena, the crowd was also very surprised. They didn't expect this battle to turn out like this. Who is that guy? Why haven't I heard of him before? He doesn't seem to be a cultivator on the Hidden Sky ranking, but his strength isn't any weaker than the Saintess. He's really daring. How dare he make fun of the Saintess in the Hidden Dragon battle? Isn't he afraid of the Heavenly Law Sacred Pavilion's revenge? As the crowd discussed, the way they looked at the black-clothed martial artist changed. Previously, no one had noticed the black-clothed martial artist, Who would have thought that he would have such a strange technique? This guy's movement technique is indeed terrifying. Nie Tian frowned. He seemed to have understood why the black-clothed martial artist had such a strong mental barrier. The black-clothed martial artist had released so many clones at once, and the others couldn't sense his aura. They couldn't even find his true body. The little saintess is about to lose. At this moment, the fat cat's voice rang out anxiously. And Nie Tian's eyes trembled. He could also sense the changes in the aura coming from the arena. It seemed that all the clones were moving towards the same place. Die. At this moment, the saintess of heaven roared again. Her body shone with a golden light as a golden shadow appeared. It was like a Vajra god, causing the surrounding space to tremble. It's over. But at the same time, the black-clothed martial artist's voice rang out, after which dozens of clones instantly condensed, transforming into a black blade that pierced through the air. Pooh! In the next instant, the space around the saintess of heaven trembled slightly. The golden shadow around the saintess of heaven was directly shattered. The saintess of heaven was flung out of the arena. You! The saintess of heaven steadied herself. Her eyes trembled. She was clearly very shocked. The black blade just now had directly pierced through her shoulder. Blood dyed half of her body red. In front of the black-clothed martial artist, she didn't even have the slightest ability to fight back. The other party was simply toying with her in the palm of his hand. Your Highness, thank you for letting me win. The black-clothed martial artist said indifferently. His face was as cold as ever, like a mask. There was only one expression on his face. After saying that, he directly left the arena, leaving the saintess of heaven dumbfounded. She couldn't react for a long time. Everyone was also stunned by this scene. They didn't expect the black-clothed martial artist to be so insolent. Interesting. Someone not to be trifled with. In the distance, Xiao Wanji's eyes trembled as he looked at the black-clothed martial artist's figure. He wasn't frightened by the black-clothed martial artist's method. Instead, it stimulated his intense battle intent. Nie Tian looked at the black-clothed martial artist with a gloomy expression. He vaguely felt that this black-clothed martial artist was somewhat familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen him before. And at this moment, the black-clothed martial artist's figure suddenly froze. He suddenly turned around and his eyes were like sharp blades, locking onto Nie Tian. Huh! At this moment, Nie Tian suddenly felt his divine soul tremble. His expression changed in shock. Chapter 4091. High up in the sky, Nie Tian's face trembled. He found it hard to hide his shock. Looking at the black-clothed martial artist from afar, he felt even more familiar. However, he couldn't remember where he had met this person before. Nie Tian, you will soon know who I am. The black-clothed martial artist saw through Nie Tian's thoughts. His lips twitched and he said, I have been looking forward to fighting with you for a long time. Don't disappoint me. Nie Tian's pupils shrank slightly as he sent a voice transmission to him. Who the hell are you? Humph. The black-clothed martial artist sneered and said, Wait until you and I stand on the martial stage. It won't be too late to find out who I am. Then, the black-clothed martial artist's figure flickered and he left. Nie Tian looked at the black-clothed martial artist's figure and frowned deeply. After a long time, he murmured, Who is this guy? His face is unfamiliar, but his aura and his eyes, why do they give me a familiar feeling? Nie Tian, no matter who this person is, he will be a great opponent for you on the Hidden Dragon Road. At this time, Fat Cat warned Nie Tian. It was obvious that the black-clothed martial artist had aroused the attention of Fat Cat. Nie Tian nodded. At this time, he was also looking forward to facing the black-clothed martial artist on the martial stage. The black-clothed martial artist had used a strange method to eliminate the Saintess of Heaven. This caused a great commotion in the crowd that took a long time to calm down. At this time, many people felt that there was something wrong with this hidden dragon struggle. Why did so many mysterious martial artists suddenly appear? Then, the battles continued. Both Tang 13 and Yu Tianqi won with ease. Soon, it was Nie Tian's turn to go on stage. The 8th-ranked martial artist chose him. He was not unfamiliar with this person. This was the genius of the Angel Clan, the 10th-ranked powerhouse on the Hidden Sky list. Holy Light Martial Intent. I never thought that my opponent would actually be you. The moment he stood on the stage, Nie Tian could not help but let out a bitter laugh as he lightly said, Nie Tian, I know that your strength is very strange, and that your cultivation base is just a disguise. The Holy Light Martial Intent's eyes trembled. It grimly said, but in this battle I must win. Although he spoke resolutely, the worry in his voice could not be concealed. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that he was very afraid of Nie Tian. However, because he was ranked 8th, he could only choose the 8th opponent, which meant that Nie Tian was the only one left. He had no choice but to fight Nie Tian. The Holy Light Martial Intent was a super talent of the angel race. It wasn't easy for him to reach the top 16. Among the top 16, the one he least wanted to face was Xiao Wanjie, followed by Nie Tian. However, things didn't go according to his wishes. He just had to meet Nie Tian. Make your move. Nie Tian faintly smiled, no longer speaking. The Holy Light Martial Intent's eyes darkened. The righteous method of the world appeared in his hands, and 4 pairs of angel wings unfurled from his back. Suddenly, a terrifying pressure appeared, like a tsunami crashing down, making one feel suffocated. He was well aware of just how terrifying Nie Tian was. Thus, he had to go all out from the start. Kill! The Holy Light Martial Intent roared and slashed out with his sword. A blazing sword intent gushed out, howling as if it could tear apart all. Nie Tian's eyes narrowed. The sword of sky in his hand slashed out. The sword intent was heaven-shaking, sweeping away everything. Pung! In that instant the 2 swords collided. There was a muffled explosion in the void, and endless sword waves surged outwards, roaring and roaring, impacting the surrounding void. The 2 retreated, but the Holy Light Martial Intent was even more calm. Its eyes were cold, piercing into Nie Tian's body like a sharp blade. It looks like in a frontal confrontation, I'm still slightly inferior, Nie Tian said as he steadied himself. With his current strength, he was still inferior to the Holy Light Martial Intent. After all, the Holy Light Martial Intent's martial arts cultivation and swordsmanship realm were above his own. It was normal for it to suppress him. Bang! Bang! At this time, the Holy Light Martial Intent moved again. 2 massive sword phantoms appeared, rumbling towards Lin Ming. The void tumbled endlessly, as if it were a giant dragon that could shake the heavens. This terrifying aura caused Nie Tian's eyes to widen. He could feel space and time in front of him being violently impacted, slowly compressing. The Holy Light Martial Intent's sword intent was different from most other sword intent. It walked the path of forcefulness, suppressing all. The 6th limit of the starry skies, sun extinguishing. In that instant, Nie Tian's lips curled up in a smile. As he spoke, a sword phantom shot out, its swift and fierce aura leaving behind a dazzling sword trail in the void. Pung! In the next moment, the 2 sword phantoms collided. With an explosive sound, they both disintegrated. Nie Tian and the Holy Light Martial Intent retreated once more. Between them, endless waves of air tumbled endlessly, as if they were raging waves of wild beasts. These 2 fellows are too strong. As everyone watched the intense battle occurring on the martial stage, their eyes trembled, their hearts filled with shock. In their eyes, Nie Tian and the Holy Light Martial Intent were evenly matched. It was impossible for either to defeat the other in a short period of time. I never thought that Nie Tian would make such progress. Qin Chi's eyes trembled, his heart filled with shock. With Nie Tian's current strength, he was actually able to face the holy light martial intent head-on without falling into a disadvantageous position. This was truly beyond his expectations. Nye Tian. But on the other side, a pair of gloomy eyes glared at Nye Tian, as if they could spit out fire. This person was Xiao Wanjie. From the first moment that Xiao Wanjie saw Nye Tian, he didn't like the latter at all. This wasn't just because Nye Tian had tried to stop him several times, but also because there was a hidden strength within Nye Tian's body that made him feel dread. But before this, he had always thought that Nye Tian was only a clown. But as Nye Tian grew stronger and stronger, he began to panic. At this moment, he had already regarded Nye Tian as a true opponent. He even had a foreboding premonition that he would be defeated by Nye Tian. A moment later, Nye Tian and the Holy Light martial intent had already exchanged dozens of sword strikes. The two were still evenly matched, unable to decide who was the better. Nye Tian, you actually used me to stabilize your swordsmanship. But at this time, the Holy Light martial intent seemed to sense something. Its eyes were incomparably grim as it crazily roared. Did you just realize it? Isn't it a bit too late? Nye Tian laughed, a playful expression on his face. Indeed, he wasn't in a hurry. He was only using this opportunity to stabilize his swordsmanship. When he had entered the three-talent mystic realm, his swordsmanship had advanced by leaps and bounds. It was inevitable that it would be a bit unstable. Chapter 4092. Boom, 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 boom. In the air above the martial stage, the Holy Light martial intent completely bloomed. Suddenly, a terrifying aura spread out, like an invisible giant hand, covering the entire martial stage. Huh! Nye Tian suddenly felt a pressure on his face. He couldn't help but be surprised. The 4 pairs of angel wings of the Holy Light martial intent were indeed powerful. Go to hell! Then, the Holy Light martial intent roared like a beast, and the 4 pairs of angel wings moved at the same time. The surrounding space suddenly trembled, as if it was about to collapse. Black Tortoise! Nye Tian's eyes trembled, and he immediately used the Black Tortoise Star Soul. The power that came from the sky was too terrifying. Even with his powerful martial body, he didn't dare to resist it. Boom! 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 In the next moment, the terrifying power fell, but it was blocked by the Black Tortoise. The terrifying impact caused layers of waves to surge, drowning out the world. Nye Tian's eyes narrowed and his expression changed. The power of the Holy Light martial intent was stronger than he had expected. In this battle, he didn't want to use too many cards, but now it seemed that he had to use at least 2 forbidden star souls. Nye Tian, I will definitely win against you. At this moment, the Holy Light martial intent roared again, and its figure broke through the waves. The 4 pairs of angel wings were like clouds in the sky, pressing down. You have wings, but so do I. Nye Tian's eyes trembled, and with a roar, the Star Soul wings appeared on his back. At the same time, the Star Soul armor and Star Soul shield opened, and the Star Soul flame appeared, gathering on the blade of the Sky Sword. You're courting death. When Holy Light martial artist saw Nye Tian, he rushed over, his eyes filled with a cold light that was filled with killing intent. He didn't think that Nye Tian would be so crazy to directly attack him, who had 4 pairs of angel wings. At this moment, everyone's eyes trembled, and they all exclaimed. Everyone knew that the next moment would be the moment of victory between Nye Tian and the Holy Light martial intent. Rumble! Rumble! The 2 figures were like wild beasts, attacking each other. The wind howled in their ears, and in their eyes there was only each other. Bang! In the next instant, the 2 extreme forces collided together, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. The surrounding space trembled as boundless shockwaves rippled outwards. Everyone's expressions were trembling. They did not expect the clash between the 2 to be so intense. A moment later, the wild waves dispersed and 2 figures appeared in front of everyone. They were Nie Tian and the holy light martial intent. Nie Tian's entire body was dripping with fresh blood, but his figure stood upright and did not move in the slightest. As for the holy light martial intent, there was a bloody mark on its chest. Its figure trembled, like a candle in the wind, about to be extinguished in the next moment. I lost. The holy light martial intent suddenly looked up, its eyes trembling as it looked at Nie Tian. He couldn't believe that he had actually lost to Nie Tian. The corner of Nie Tian's mouth twitched. He took a step forward, and all the blood on his body was cleansed. His entire person was incomparably sharp, like an unsheathed sword. The holy light martial intent was defeated? Everyone was shocked by this scene. They were incomparably panic-stricken, their faces filled with disbelief. Although they had already expected that Nie Tian would win this battle, when the moment truly arrived, they were still shocked. It had to be said that this dark horse, Nie Tian, had brought them far too many pleasant surprises. He had shocked them again and again. Nie Tian faintly smiled. Without saying anything, he turned and prepared to leave. Why didn't you kill me? At this time, the holy light martial intent opened its mouth. Its eyes were filled with confusion and horror as it asked this question. That sword strike just now could have taken its life, but Nie Tian had only wounded it. In all honesty, if it had the same opportunity, it would not hesitate to kill Nie Tian. I only want to defeat you, I don't want to kill you. Nie Tian faintly smiled, his expression calm. The holy light martial intent froze in place, unable to respond for a long time. Everyone looked at Nie Tian's back, their expressions also sluggish. They didn't know how to describe their current mood. Nie Tian had forcefully defeated the holy light martial intent. The crowd was excited for a long time before they finally calmed down. Then, the remaining matches also ended. The top 8 of the Hidden Dragon War were born. They were Xiao Wanjie, Zhu Wan, Tang 13, Yu Tianqi, Sha Qianqiu, King Shang, Jing Xuedao, and Nie Tian. Among them, Nie Tian was already familiar with Xiao Wanjie, Tang 13, and King Shang. As for Zhu Wan, he was the mysterious black-clothed martial artist who had defeated the Saintess of Heaven. Yu Tianqi was a genius from the prison clan. He excelled in strange technique. Sha Qianqiu was from the Azura clan. He was not a powerful killing Azura. Jing Xuedao was a saber wielder. It was said that he was a martial artist from the mysterious Snow Empire. These 7 people, along with Nie Tian, formed the top 8 of the Hidden Dragon War. Although the top 8 of the Hidden Dragon War was different from what everyone had expected, it was still reasonable. Zhu Wan, Tang 13, and Nie Tian were the absolute dark horses of this Hidden Dragon War. Nie Tian had been a dark horse from the very beginning. He had repeatedly revealed his amazing strength. As for Tang 13, she had defeated Gong Yu and Gui in a single move. She had become famous in that battle. Zhu Wan was even more terrifying. At the beginning, he had been unknown. Now, he had defeated the Saintess of Heaven in a playful manner. Everyone remembered him. Nie Tian secretly compared the other 7 martial artists besides himself. Among them, the top 3 made him dread the most. Xiao Wanjie did not need to be mentioned. His strength was tyrannical, and his methods were ruthless. He was definitely a formidable opponent. Although Tang 13 and Nie Tian were familiar with each other, the 2 of them were standing on the same stage. If they really fought, a winner would be determined. Nie Tian was not unfamiliar with the Ghost Eye and the demonic holy blood. However, he did not know how strong these 2 powers were. Therefore, if he met Tang 13, he was not sure. Xiao Wanjie and Tang 13 were terrifying. But among the 7, the one that worried Nie Tian the most was the mysterious martial artist named Zhu Wan. Zhu Wan obviously knew Nie Tian. However, his identity was mysterious. Although Nie Tian felt that Zhu Wan was very familiar, he could not figure out the latter's identity. Perhaps, only when he and Zhu Wan faced each other on the stage, would he remember who the latter was. Next, the battles of the top 8 began. The top 4 of the top 8 chose their opponents first. After a while, Xiao Wanjie and the other 3 people chose their opponent. The order of the battles of the top 8 was also decided. The battles of the top 8. Xiao Wanjie against Jing Xuedao, Zhu Wan against King Shang, Tang 13 against Sha Qianqiu, Yu Tianqi against Nie Tian. Chapter 4093. The battle of the top 8 was about to begin. On the battle stage, 2 silhouettes were standing straight like swords, emitting an incomparably sharp aura. Countless eyes were focused on the 2 of them. The shock in their hearts was written all over their faces. The battle of the top 8, this was the real battle of the hidden dragon. The battle between Nie Tian and Yu Tianqi was the first battle of the top 8. Naturally, it attracted everyone's attention. Nie Tian, I did not think that the opponent standing in front of me would be you. Up in the sky, Yu Tianqi said in a low voice. His eyes were filled with coldness as he looked at Nie Tian and said, "You used to be a nobody, but now you are standing on the top 8 battle stage of the Hidden Dragon. You have surprised me. Whether I am a nobody or a surprise, I don't care." Nie Tian looked at Yu Tianqi and smiled. "I only want to win." When? Yu Tianqi's eyes froze. He sneered and said, "You? Me?" Nie Tian smiled lightly, his face calm. "Nie Tian, I know that your strength cannot be compared to normal warriors." Yu Tianqi once again sneered, "But I, Yu Tianqi, cannot be compared to normal warriors either." Boom. The moment he finished speaking, Yu Tianqi stepped forward. Immediately, a powerful aura was released. It crazily expanded in all directions and instantly covered the entire battle stage. A barrier? Nie Tian sensed the powerful pressure coming from the void, and his eyes couldn't help but tremble. He was quite surprised. Yu Tianqi being able to create such a huge barrier in an instant was indeed out of Nie Tian's expectations. Nie Tian, perhaps you are a troublesome guy in front of others. But inside my 9 strange enchantment, no matter how many tricks you have, it is useless. Yu Tianqi sneered. His eyes were like a wolf's as he stared at Nie Tian, as if he was looking at a prey in a net. Really? Nie Tianling responded with a smile. Then, the sky sword appeared in his hand. The sword will cut through the void and rush toward the enchantment. Unfortunately, the power of the sword essence only caused the barrier to shake slightly. It was unable to cause any impact on the barrier at all. This barrier is indeed tricky to deal with. Nie Tian's body stopped moving. His eyes were slightly trembling, and he was secretly shocked. Die. At that moment, Yu Tianqi made his move. Several sharp blades appeared in the air. They were cold and murderous, heading straight for Nie Tian. Nie Tian's eyes trembled slightly, and he immediately moved to the side. Pooh! Puff! In the next moment, the sharp blades whizzed past and left several bloody wounds on his body. Blood immediately gushed out and dyed half of his body red. Nie Tian's expression changed and he frowned. He was even more surprised in his heart. Yu Tianqi's speed and strength within the barrier had exceeded his expectations. Not bad, he's not dead yet. Then Yu Tianqi's voice rang out again. His silhouette flickered and an endless amount of energy surged out, pressing down on Nie Tian. Nie Tian's astral soul wings appeared on his back, and his silhouette instantly retreated. But the violent attack was too fast and too fast. He didn't even have time to react. His silhouette was directly flung out and heavily smashed into the arena. Nie Tian's silhouette immediately stood up. His entire body was already dripping with blood. That attack just now was incomparably powerful. If it weren't for his strong martial body, he would have already exploded and died. What's going on? Seeing the scene on the arena, the crowd couldn't help but exclaim in shock. No one would have thought that the battle that everyone had been waiting for would turn out like this. In front of Yu Tianqi, Nie Tian didn't even have the strength to fight back. Even though Nie Tian's previous battles had been won by a fluke, there was no doubt that his strength was unquestionable. Why was it that when fighting against Yu Tianqi, Nie Tian seemed so powerless? At this time, on the arena, Nie Tian's silhouette madly rushed out. Sword shadows whistled like dragons, attacking Yu Tianqi. But before the sword shadow could reach Yu Tianqi, it was forcibly torn apart by the power that came from the void. Nie Tian's eyes trembled in shock. He didn't expect that Yu Tianqi's barrier would be so strange. In fact, he had already felt a terrifying power coming from the void. That kind of aura was very strange, as if it had merged with the space. Nie Tian, you want to hurt me in the Nine Wonders barrier? It's impossible. Yu Tianqi madly laughed and attacked again. In the void, an enormous palm shadow appeared, rumbling with killing intent, blasting towards Nie Tian. Nie Tian frowned. His astral soul shield and astral soul armor were activated at the same time, but they were unable to block the terrifying palm shadow. His silhouette was once again flung out. He barely steadied himself. All the wounds on his body had already split open, and the smell of blood surged around him. Nie Tian, you have to break his barrier. At this time, Fat Cat's voice rang out. Yes. Nie Tian nodded. He had been searching for the Nine Wonders barrier's weakness. In the Nine Wonders barrier, he felt that all kinds of powers were greatly suppressed. Especially when he attacked, there would be a terrifying power coming from the void, making him feel suffocated. This barrier seems to have merged with time and space, absorbing the power in the space and turning it into its own, said Ghost Emperor. Indeed. Fat Cat nodded and said, this barrier contains the aura of 9 Yuan. It can sense the 9 Yuan holy power in the space, merge with it, absorb it, and cause the space itself to produce pressure. Nie Tian's eyes narrowed, and he instantly understood. Within the 9 Wonders barrier, there were the auras of the 9 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, light, and darkness. It could sense the 9 Yuan holy power in the space at the same time and absorb it into the barrier. On one hand, it could suppress Nie Tian, and on the other hand, it could strengthen Yu Tianqi. Within the 9 Wonders barrier, Yu Tianqi could control the power of time and space. No wonder he was so strong. Nie Tian, pay attention to the flow of energy in the void when he attacks, Little Fat Cat said in a deep voice, its eyes burning with passion. Yes. Nie Tian's eyes trembled, but he immediately understood. When Yu Tianqi attacked, he would absorb power from the barrier, and the place where the power of the barrier converged was where the eye of the barrier was. Nie Tian, it ends here. At this time, Yu Tianqi's eyes darkened, and he spoke in a cold tone. Suddenly, his entire body's aura surged out, like a volcano erupting, shaking the void. Nie Tian's lips twitched. His consciousness connected with the fox of eternal night, and he immediately saw that not far behind Yu Tianqi, waves of power were converging, finally gathering in a small whirlpool. Chapter 4094. Die. In the air above the arena, Yu Tianqi let out an angry roar. His body moved in a flash, and an endless amount of power pressed down on Nie Tian, condensing into a shadow of a fist, carrying the power of 10,000 kilograms of thunder as it shot towards Nie Tian. Hiss! Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes widened and they all gasped. Yu Tianqi's punch was obviously full force and he wanted to kill his opponent in one move. Before, Nie Tian had already shown signs of defeat and was heavily injured. Could he still withstand this fatal punch? Everyone was certain that the moment the fist shadow landed, it would be the moment Nie Tian's soul would perish. Universe 9 limits, 7th limit, reverse yin and yang. However, at this moment, Nie Tian's feet stomped on the ground and his silhouette shot up into the sky. The sword shadow whizzed out like a mad dragon, rolling and murderous. However, the target of this sword was not Yu Tianqi, but the space behind him. Everyone's eyes widened again and their expressions froze. They didn't understand at all what Nie Tian was doing. He wasn't going to fight Yu Tianqi, but was attacking the space instead. Was he beaten stupid? Qing Qi stared at the battle stage, his eyes trembling and his heart in his throat. Not only was he worried for Nie Tian, but he was also confused about what Nie Tian was doing. In a few other places, Xiao Wanjie, Zhu Wan, and the others had heated eyes as they waited for the next scene to happen. Xiao Wanjie naturally hoped that Nie Tian would be killed by Yu Tianqi. To him, Yu Tianqi wasn't a threat at all. On the other hand, Nie Tian was someone he was afraid of. Boom! In the next instant, the terrifying fist shadow landed heavily on Nie Tian's body. Nie Tian's body trembled and he was sent flying. Bang! At the same time, the space behind Yu Tianqi suddenly emitted a muffled sound. Then, a terrifying force exploded. Strange cracks appeared in the space and quickly spread. How is this possible? Yu Tianqi's eyes trembled as he stared at the sky in disbelief. Never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that Nie Tian would actually find the eye of the barrier and even successfully break the barrier. What's going on? At this moment, everyone noticed that something was wrong. Their eyes trembled as they cried out in alarm. Bang! At that moment, a muffled explosion rang out. Instantly, a ripple of energy visible to the naked eye appeared in the sky. It was the Nine Wonders formation that had exploded. Puff! Yu Tianqi's body trembled as he retreated a few steps. A mouthful of blood spurted out. The collapse of the Nine Wonders boundary had directly caused him to suffer heavy injuries. However, his figure had stabilized, and his eyes were suffused with a ghastly light as he stared coldly at the arena and roared in a low voice, Nie Tian, so what if you've broken through my barrier? Aren't you still dead? Nie Tian had broken his barrier, causing him to suffer heavy injuries. In the following battle, he basically had no chance of winning. Therefore, at most, he would stop at the top 4. As for Nie Tian, he was certain that his body had been smashed into pieces. Inside the Nine Wonders formation, Nie Tian had no chance of surviving after receiving his full-strength attack. On the arena, a violent wave of energy was wreaking havoc, but there was no sign of Nie Tian. Everyone was stunned by the scene in front of them. They sucked in a breath of cold air and couldn't react for a long time. No one thought that the result of this battle would be like this. Nie Tian was dead and Yu Tianqi was gravely injured. Nie Tian. In the distance, Qing Qi's eyes were trembling. The panic in his heart was written all over his face. Did Nie Tian really die in Yu Tianqi's hands? Humph! On the other side, Xiao Wanjie coldly laughed and loudly said, "Truly a piece of trash. He can't even beat Yu Tianqi." However, Zhu Wan, who was standing not far from Xiao Wanjie, took a glance at him. A strange smile appeared at the corner of his mouth as he said, Nie Tian won't die so easily. What do you mean? Xiao Wanjie's expression changed as he looked at Zhu Wan cold. Zhu Wan didn't pay attention to him. Instead, his eyes turned and landed on the arena. I haven't won yet. How can I die? At this time, a low laugh rang out from the surging waves. Then, a sword shadow whizzed out and attacked Yu Tianqi. Bang! In the next moment, Yu Tianqi didn't even have time to react. His figure flew out of the arena. Then, a figure soared into the sky from the arena and stood firmly in the air. It was Nie Tian. He didn't die. Everyone's eyes trembled as they fixed their gaze on Nie Tian. Who would have thought that Nie Tian was still alive? At this time, Nie Tian's entire body was covered in wounds. His face was as white as paper, but his eyes were sharp and his murderous aura sent chills down everyone's spine. He didn't die? Xiao Wanjie's eyes trembled when he saw Nie Tian appear. Yu Tianqi's punch, just now, was extremely powerful. Even if it was him, he would be heavily injured. But Nie Tian was only at the 3rd level of heavenly righteousness. How could he have withstood that punch? Was Nie Tian this terrifying? Nie Tian, you really didn't disappoint me. Zhu Wan, who was not far away, smiled faintly. His face was calm as if everything was within his expectations. It would be strange if the Star Sky sacred leader were to die just like that. Qing-Chi was also shocked. On his wrinkled face, there was a trace of moisture at the corner of his eyes. After a long while, everyone finally reacted. They looked at Nie Tian with unconcealable shock and fear. Once again, Nie Tian had shocked everyone. Why? At this time, Yu Tianqi's body stabilized. He trembled as if he was about to fall down in the next moment. He screamed like a madman. I said that I want to win. Nie Tian looked at Yu Tianqi and smiled faintly. His face was overbearing and confident. The indifferent voice fell in everyone's ears, but it was like a clap of thunder. The wild, domineering aura emanating from Nie Tian was shocking. It was hard to imagine how a third level of heavenly righteousness martial artist could have such an aura. Nie Tian, I look forward to fighting you more and more. Far away, Zhu Wan smiled faintly. His eyes were burning with excitement. Zhu Wan. However, at that very moment, Nie Tian suddenly took a step forward. His figure flashed across the air and landed directly beside Zhu Wan. Zhu Wan was startled. Then, his lips twitched. What? Do you remember who I am? Nie Tian's eyes lit up as he stared at Zhu Wan. He laughed strangely and said, Should I call you the ancestor of all ghosts? Or should I call you Left Hand? Or do you have a new identity and name? Chapter 4095. The All-Ghost Ancestor. Nie Tian finally recalled Zhu Wan's true identity. That's right, this mysterious martialist named Zhu Wan was the All-Ghost Ancestor. The All-Ghost Ancestor, who had been sealed by Star Sky Holy Master Dongwang Jingrong, had actually appeared here. The All-Ghost Ancestor and Dongwang Jingrong had fought for their entire lives, but had always been suppressed by the latter. Before Dongwang Jingrong died, he had even sealed the All-Ghost Ancestor in the Tianqing mountain range. When Nie Tian had been in the Tianqing domain, he had coincidentally encountered the All-Ghost Ancestor trying to break the seal. Although he and the previous Earth-destroying Starlord Xiahou Yao had tried their best to stop the All-Ghost Ancestor from breaking the seal, they had failed. In the end, the Earth-destroying Starlord had died. The first time Nie Tian had heard the name Dongwang Jingrong was from the All-Ghost Ancestor. The All-Ghost Ancestor and Dongwang Jingrong were mortal enemies, but he had been suppressed by Dongwang Jingrong for his entire life. Although Dongwang Jingrong had fallen, in the eyes of the All-Ghost Ancestor, the battle between him and Dongwang Jingrong was far from over. Dongwang Jingrong had fallen, but his successor, Nie Tian, was still alive. Next, it was time for the battle between the All-Ghost Ancestor and Nie Tian. Moreover, although the All-Ghost Ancestor had broken free from the seal, his form had degenerated to that of a primitive ghost fetus after being suppressed for a long time. He had only regained the body of a normal person by relying on a martialist named Left. Dongwang Jingrong had done everything for Nie Tian, which was equivalent to putting the All-Ghost Ancestor on the same starting line as Nie Tian. This was also what excited the All-Ghost Ancestor. He regarded the battle with Nie Tian as his second battle with Dongwang Jingrong. Dongwang Jingrong was the person who had suppressed him for his entire life, and the only person he respected. Dongwang Jingrong was the strongest opponent of the All-Ghost Ancestor, and the only person he respected. When the All-Ghost Ancestor had left, he had said that he was looking forward to meeting Nie Tian again. One of them was the ancestor of all ghosts in the past, and the other was the future Starry Sky Saint Lord. Both of them became enemies because of Dongwang Jingrong. One day in the future, there would definitely be a battle to the death between the two of them. Neither of them had expected that their first battle would come so quickly. Although the appearance of the All-Ghost Ancestor had changed, his aura remained the same. This was especially true for his cold and sinister eyes. They were even more intimidating than before. Nie Tian. The corners of the myriad ghost ancestor's mouth twitched as he transmitted his voice, you've indeed grown quite a bit since we parted ways, but the current you still disappoint this ancestor. Is that so? Nie Tianling replied with a smile. Our battle has yet to begin. The outcome is still unknown. The all-ghost ancestor sneered. I hope your strength matches your arrogance. Dong Wang Jingrong has been unstoppable for his entire life. I hope that you will not bring shame to the name of the Star Saint leader. As soon as he finished speaking, his silhouette moved and he left. Nie Tian looked at the 1,000 ghost ancestors' silhouette and smiled faintly. I will protect the Star Saint leader's dignity. As for you, even if you are the all-ghost ancestor, don't even think of stopping me. His calm voice was filled with domineering confidence. Nie Tian defeated Yu Tianqi and became the first martial artist to advance to the semifinals. No one could have imagined that the first top 4 martialists would actually be a Saint Monarch martialist who was only at the 3rd level of heavenly justice. Following that, the second battle of the quarterfinals began. Tang 13 vs. Sha Qianqiu. Tang 13's silhouette moved and landed on the stage like a ray of light. Almost at the same time, Sha Qianqiu's silhouette landed as well. Like a majestic mountain, he exuded a terrifying killing intent. What a terrifying Azura killing seal! Nie Tian stared at Sha Qianqiu as his face changed color. He was shocked. How could he not tell that the aura that Sha Qianqiu was releasing was the aura of the Azura killing seal? Sha Qianqiu killed martial artists of the Azura race, and the strongest part of the Azura race was their bloodline power, the Azura killing seal. The Azura's killing seal was born along with every death Azura's bloodline power. The weaker death Azura had 1,000 Azura's killing seals in their bodies, the stronger ones had 3,000 to 4,000 Azura's killing seals, and the strongest death Azura had 9,000 Azura's killing seals. Back in the domain, Nie Tian had met a Azura killing Azura named Sha Juling. Sha Juling had 7,000 Azura killing seals in his body, which was already very terrifying. But the Azura killing seal aura on Sha Qianqiu's body was far superior to Sha Juling's. Therefore, Nie Tian speculated that Sha Qianqiu had at least 8,000 Azura killing seals in his body. It might even reach a terrifying 9,000 seals. However, the Azura killing seals only represented one's talent in killing Azuras. What determined one's strength was the number of Azura killing seals awakened. Nie Tian didn't dare to confirm how many Azura killing seals Sha Qianqiu had awakened, but he was certain that it would be difficult for Tang 13 to win this round. The Azura killing seal of the Azura killing seal is indeed ferocious. On the battle stage, Tang 13 stared at Sha Qianqiu and smiled faintly. There was no fear on her face. Instead, she looked playful. Tang 13, the Holy Demon Blood Lord recognized by the Holy Demon Blood. Sha Qianqiu said coldly. His eyes were cold and his every word was filled with murderous intent. He said, I want to see how strong you, the Holy Demon Blood Lord, really are. It was obvious that he knew who Tang 13 was and he didn't want to admit defeat. Sure. Tang 13 smiled faintly and said, Then I will use the strength you are most proud of to defeat you. As soon as her voice trailed off, Tang 13 stepped forward. Instantly, a terrifying amount of killer's intent poured out of her, shaking the space around her. It was as if the entire heaven and earth were about to collapse. Sha Qianqiu's eyes widened in shock. His face changed color and he stuttered, You? His eyes were trembling incessantly, and he couldn't even speak. The Azura's killing seal. Tang 13 spoke softly, Sha Qianqiu, I want to see how many of the 9,000 Azura's killing seals you have awakened. Impossible. Sha Qianqiu's eyes were shaking as he screamed, This is impossible. Tang 13 wasn't from the Shura clan, how could he have the Azura's killing seal? The Azura's killing seal was the power of the bloodline, and could only be born from the bloodline. How could it be born after birth? The killer's intent on Tang 13's body is stronger than Sha Qianqiu's. Below the battle stage, Nie Tian felt Tang 13's killing seal. His eyes widened and his heart was in awe. He didn't think Tang 13 would have the Azura's killing seal, and it was stronger than Sha Qianzhou's. Chapter 4096. Original Shura. Nie Tian heard these 4 words and his eyes widened. He couldn't help but gasp. Yes. Fat Cat nodded. It looks like Tang 13 has completely absorbed the blood of the holy demon. His body is slowly transforming into the original Shura. I cannot believe Tang 13 is already this strong. It looks like I was worried for nothing. Nie Tian's lips curled up as he smiled. He didn't know much about the original Shura, but he knew that the 5 Shura tribes all evolved from the original Shura. The 5 Shura tribes all had the 5 Shura prohibitions: the Hand of Destruction, the Wings of Death, the Ghostly Body, the Forbidden Soul, and the Mandate of Heaven. The original Shura, as the origin of the Shura tribe, possessed all 5 Shura prohibitions. Comparing them, Tang 13 was much stronger than Sha Qianzhou. Tang 13, so what, you have the Shura's killing seal? At this moment, Sha Qianzhou calmed down and the killer's intent in his eyes intensified. He growled, I will teach you now that you, an outsider, do not deserve the power of the Shura. As soon as he spoke, he took a step forward. Instantly, a terrifying amount of killer's intent surged in the air and transformed into a tempest of killer's intent. It was as if it wanted to destroy everything in its path. What a terrifying killer's intent! Everyone could feel the terrifying killing intent coming from the void. Their eyes couldn't help but tremble as they exclaimed in shock. This person has awakened at least 1,000 Shura's killing seals. Nie Tian's eyes focused, he was shocked. However, he wasn't worried for Tang 13. To him, she had the ability to defeat Sha Qianzhou. Come at me. Tang 13's lips curled up into a faint smile as she spoke. Die. Sha Qianzhou was enraged. He howled and thousands of killer's intent blades appeared out of thin air. They formed into a net of killer's intent and slammed down. Seeing this, Tang 13 remained unmoving like a mountain. Her body quivered and the space around her trembled. The net of killer's intent crumbled. Sha Qianzhou's silhouette wavered, and he was forced back hundreds of meters. How could this be? He steadied himself and his eyes were shaking. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. It was as though the power that Tang 13 was emitting had the ability to suppress his own power. Let's continue. Tang 13 grinned again, provoking him. Courting death. Sha Qianzhou was enraged like a wild beast. The killing intent in his body surged crazily, condensing into a wild beast of killing intent in the air. The terrifying roar shook the surroundings. Roar. In the next moment, the wild beast with killing intent pounced forward. The void trembled as if it was about to collapse. Tang 13's face was still full of smiles. She took a step forward and a sharp black blade shot forward, tearing the murderous beast apart with brute force. Pooh! Then, Sha Qianzhou didn't even have time to react before his shoulder was pierced, and blood gushed out of his body. Damn it! He steadied himself, his temper like thunder. Tang 13 was still smiling and her face was calm. This! Everyone was stunned by the scene in front of them. They sucked in a breath of cold air, completely shocked. Kill Sorrow's strength had already been proven in the previous battles. But before Tang 13, Sha Qianzhou had no way of fighting back. He was being toyed with. Just who was Tang 13? How could she be so terrifying? Right now, Nie Tian was also stunned. Tang 13 was much stronger than he had imagined. Sha Qianzhou, if this is all you have, then this battle is far too boring. Tang 13 grinned and taunted. You are far too arrogant. Sha Qianzhou was enraged. His roar was like thunder, and after that, his body underwent a strange transformation. Terrifying runes appeared, covering his entire body. Even his face was covered in runes, making him look incomparably malevolent. This is... Nie Tian's eyes widened and his expression changed. Killing ghost physique. Fat Cat spoke in a low voice. This guy isn't weak either. He is so young yet, he has already formed the killing ghost physique. One of the 5 restrictions of Azura, the killing ghost physique. Nie Tion's heart dropped as he exclaimed. Sha Qianzhou was indeed a genius of the Azura clan with 9,000 Azura killing seals. He was able to activate the killing ghost physique. Didn't that mean Tang 13 was in danger? The killing ghost physique? Tang 13 stared at Sha Qianzhou as the corner of her lips curled up. You think you're the only one with it? Sha Qianzhou's eyes widened and he couldn't help but gasp. In the next second, a shocking scene happened. Killer tattoos appeared on Tang 13's body as well. Every single one of them was deeper than the ones on Sha Qianzhou's body. Sha Qianzhou's face froze. He was completely dumbfounded by the scene before him. Tang 13 could activate the killing ghost physique as well. She was even more terrifying than him. Could it be that Tang 13 had really become the holy demon blood Kaiser? Sha Qianzhou, admit defeat. Tang 13 laughed softly, arrogant and domineering. I don't believe it. Sha Qianzhou roared. His silhouette dashed forward like a knife, aiming to kill Tang 13. What's the point? The corner of Tang 13's lips curled up into a smile. She moved as well. A wave of killer's energy appeared in the air. It was fast to the extreme and emitted a bone-chilling murderous aura. In the next second, everyone felt the world before them shake. Then, they realized that Tang 13 and Sha Qianzhou were standing firmly in the air. Like 2 statues, they didn't move an inch. Everyone's eyes were shaking. They didn't know what was happening. Nie Tion's nerves were taut as well. His heart was about to jump out of his throat. You are. Just then, Sha Qianzhou raised his head and stared at Tang 13. Just as he was about to speak, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body trembled uncontrollably, as if he was going to fall to the ground in the next second. You have lost. Tang 13 softly smiled and said calmly. I lost. Sha Qianzhou's eyes shook as he repeated himself. What happened in the blink of an eye made him realize that the gap between him and Tang 13 was too big. Tang 13 could have killed him right away. However, she held back and let him live. If he didn't experience it himself, he wouldn't have believed that the holy demon blood could unleash such terrifying power in the body of an outsider. Tang 13, I recognize you as the holy demon blood Kaiser. After some time, Sha Qianzhou spoke in a low voice. The way he looked at Tang 13, not only was there fear, there was also respect. Thank you. Tang 13 softly smiled. Then, her silhouette flashed and she stepped out of the battle arena. Seeing this, Nie Tion flew over and arrived beside Tang 13. He whispered, Tang 13, are you okay? Chapter 4097. Nie Tion looked at Tang 13. His divine sense swept over her body. Only after confirming that she was fine did he relax. It seemed that using the primal Azura power was too much of a burden on Tang 13 and even injured her. Tang 13 was clearly injured, so why did he pretend to be fine? Was he trying to make others think he was strong? Nie Tion knew that Tang 13 wasn't a vain person. The corner of Tang 13's mouth twitched as she said with a faint smile, Nie Tion, before you fought Zhu Shi, your strongest opponent was that guy named Zhu Wan, right? Nie Tion nodded, his eyes darkening. In order to win the title of the 5 campus marshal chief, he had to defeat Zhu Shi. And to do so, he had to defeat one of the top 8. Among the top 8, the 2 people that Nie Tion feared the most were the All-Ghost Ancestor and Xiao Wanjie. Compared to Xiao Wanjie, the All-Ghost Ancestor gave him more pressure. Before fighting Zhu Shi, the All-Ghost Ancestor was Nie Tion's biggest opponent. Nie Tion didn't expect that Tang 13 would be able to see through this. I don't have the confidence to defeat that guy, but I will try my best to force him to use his trump card. You'll have to watch carefully then. Tang 13 smiled, a sly expression on her face. Nie Tian frowned. He froze for a moment, then his eyes flickered as he reacted. So Tang 13 had already made plans to fight the All-Ghost Ancestor. It was obvious that in the next two battles, Xiao Wanjie and the All-Ghost Ancestor had a higher chance of winning. Xiao Wanjie was ranked first, so he would be the first to choose his opponent. At present, Tang 13's strength was already above Nie Tian's. And the stronger Tang 13 was, the higher the chances of Xiao Wanjie choosing Nie Tian. The stronger Tang 13 was, the higher the chances of Xiao Wanjie choosing Nie Tian. Even if he couldn't defeat the Ghost Ancestor, he would at least be able to force him to use more of his trump cards, and give him a better understanding of the Ghost Ancestor. Tang 13 was injured, but she pretended she was fine to help Nie Tian ascend to the top. Only then did Nie Tian realize the meaning behind this. Tang 13, thank you. Nie Tian's lips twitched as he said softly. My strength is not enough, so I can only rely on you. Tang 13 smiled, her face calm. Nie Tian forced a smile and didn't say anything else. Next, the third battle of the top 8 began, Zhu Wan versus King Shang. On the arena, two figures stood coldly high up in the sky. Their imposing auras were extremely formidable, and their impacts caused space to rumble without end. Looking at the two figures, Nie Tian smiled bitterly and said, King Fengshang, I hope you can let Zhu Wan make a few more moves. King Shang, I hope you can let Zhu Wan attack a few more times. Nie Tian stared at the two figures and smiled bitterly. Blade user who lost to Nie Tian, I really have no interest in fighting you, Zhu Wan said coldly, his eyes filled with disdain. Is that so? King Shang's face darkened as he growled. Instantly, his qi poured out of his body. His blade qi was like a tsunami, rolling and threatening to swallow the sky. Against King Shang's powerful qi, Zhu Wan was expressionless. It was as if King Shang didn't exist. In the next second, King Shang's ghost splitter appeared in his hand. The sound of the blade pierced through the clouds and cracked rocks. The terrifying qi from the blade engulfed the entire battle stage. Boom! Then, Ghost Splitter descended from the sky. The shadow of the blade was like a mountain, slashing towards Zhu Wan. What a powerful saber! When the crowd saw this, their eyes trembled violently and they exclaimed in unison. King Shang's attack was filled with blade qi and anger. It was obvious that he wanted to kill Zhu Wan in one blow. But Zhu Wan, in the face of such a powerful blade, did not move at all. He was like a 10,000-year-old boulder in the middle of a storm. No matter how powerful the waves were, he would not move. Is this guy crazy? The eyes of the crowd trembled as they were shocked once again. Zhu Wan stood where he was. Wasn't this suicide? Arrogance, there was no such thing as arrogance. However, at the next moment a strange scene occurred. The shadow of the blade fell like a waterfall. However, when it was about 100 meters away from Zhu Wan, it suddenly stopped. It was as if it had hit an invisible wall. After a low rumble, it could not move any further. This! The crowd's eyes widened in astonishment at the sight before them. They sucked in a breath of cold air, not knowing what was going on. What a strong ghost qi! Seeing this scene, Nie Tian's expression changed, and he cried out in his heart. He sensed that Zhu Wan had released an invisible wave of ghost qi in an instant. It condensed into a shield in front of him. The ghostly aura wasn't dense, but it gave off an incomparably vigorous feeling. It was as if it possessed the power to obstruct and annihilate everything. Nie Tian originally thought that the most terrifying thing about Zhu Wan was that he had many strange movement skills. But now, he realized that Zhu Wan's absolute strength was also very shocking. Using ghost qi to take on King Shang's attack and come out unscathed. Even Xiao Wanjie might not be able to do that. How can this guy be so strong? On the other side, Xiao Wanjie was also shocked by the scene in front of him. Before participating in the recruitment of the 5 academies, he was very confident that he would become the leader of the 5 academies. But after that, a series of things happened one after another, catching him off guard. First, the appearance of Nie Tian and the others made him feel threatened. Then, Zhu Shi suddenly appeared and cut off his thoughts of becoming the leader of the 5 academies. But now, there was Zhu Wan, who also shocked him. If he were to ask himself, if he was the one standing on the stage, he would not be able to block King Shang's full-powered saber without moving at all. In the next moment, an even more shocking scene occurred. On the battle stage, Zhu Wan took a step forward. Instantly, the sky rumbled and a terrifying qi exploded, shattering the shadow of the blade in the air. This! King Shang's eyes trembled. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. He had used all his strength in that attack, yet it didn't hurt Zhu Wan at all. Instead, it was instantly destroyed by Zhu Wan. How was this possible? Just how strong was Zhu Wan? It's over. Then, the corner of Zhu Wan's lips twitched. Suddenly, a wave of ghost qi whizzed out and sent King Shang flying, leaving a bloody trail in the air. Chapter 4098. How could this be possible? Only after a very long time did everyone recover from their shock, and exclamations of astonishment sounded out incessantly. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed what they were seeing. It was far too shocking. King Shang was a genius ranked in the top 10 of the Hidden Sky ranking. But in front of Zhu Wan, he had no way of fighting back. He was being completely trashed. The fighting ability that Zhu Wan displayed was on a completely different level compared to other cultivators. Many people even thought that Zhu Shi might not have Zhu Wan's fighting ability. Is this guy even human? Far away, Xiao Wanjie's eyes were shaking. His face was full of shock and his heart was at its peak. He originally thought that he could fight against Zhu Wan. But now, it seemed like he was no match for Zhu Wan. If King Shang couldn't even handle one move from Zhu Wan, how many moves could he handle? On the other side, Nie Tian was just as shocked. The all-ghost ancestor's strength was more terrifying than he had imagined. Nie Tian, who in the world is he? Tang 13's face was full of shock, and her voice trembled slightly. Tang 13, if you meet him, fight if you can. Don't force yourself. Nie Tian didn't answer Tang 13's question. Instead, he spoke in a low voice. Tang 13's eyes froze. It seemed like she was right. Nie Tian did know Zhu Wan. Just then, Zhu Wan suddenly turned around. His eyes were as sharp as knives as they locked onto Nie Tian from afar. His eyes shone with provocation. He had proven his strength. Next, it was up to Nie Tian. Nie Tian didn't avoid Zhu Wan at all. Instead, he stared right at him. No matter how strong his opponent was, he would charge forward and never admit defeat. The corner of Zhu Wan's lips twitched. Then, in a flash, he jumped off the stage. The scene of Zhu Wan trashing King Shang made the crowd unable to calm down for a long time. Nobody thought that there would be so many hidden geniuses in this year's Hidden Dragon competition. At this moment, many people sensed that the Hidden Dragon battle this time seemed to be somewhat unusual. Faintly, it seemed like something big was about to happen. Next, the last battle of the quarterfinals began. Xiao Wanjie versus Jing Xuedao. However, before the two of them had even stepped onto the stage, Jing Xuedao had taken the initiative to step forward and admit defeat. Everyone was stunned, unable to react for a long time. Jing Xuedao had already made it to the top 8. If he won another match, he would be able to step into the top 4. However, he admitted defeat at this time. It was really unexpected. However, someone soon discovered that Jing Xuedao had suffered some injuries, and his complexion was not good. In addition, his opponent was the ruthless Xiao Wanjie. For the sake of safety, taking the initiative to admit defeat was not a bad choice. Since Jing Xuedao had admitted defeat, the battle of the top 8 had officially ended. The top 4 of the Hidden Dragon realm were born: Xiao Wanjie, Zhu Wan, Tang 13, and Nie Tian. Of the 4 people, besides Xiao Wanjie, who was the martial artist that everyone thought highly of, the other three were absolute dark horses. In everyone's eyes, Zhu Wan and Tang 13, who had risen to the top after Nie Tian, had already surpassed Nie Tian. The emergence of the top four meant that the truly exciting battle of the pinnacle was about to begin. According to the rules of the competition, the four of them had half a day to rest, which gave them a chance to breathe. After half a day, the battle of the top four began. Xiao Wanjie, who was currently in first place, chose his opponent. Xiao Wanjie's gaze moved between Nie Tian and Tang 13. He was clearly hesitant. He had been afraid of Nie Tian for a long time. Plus, he had been defeated multiple times by the latter. However, the abilities that Tang 13 displayed against Yu Qianzhou made him feel threatened as well. Especially when Tang 13 defeated Yu Qianzhou without using much effort, he was very worried. Up until now, the power that Tang 13 was using was not clear, but it was very threatening. I choose Nie Tian. After thinking for a long time, Xiao Wanjie finally spoke. He chose to avoid Tang 13 and fight against Nie Tian. Against Nie Tian, even though he didn't gain the upper hand in his previous battles, he felt that at least understanding Nie Tian was better than choosing an opponent he didn't understand at all. The crowd nodded. They all felt that Xiao Wanjie choosing Nie Tian as his opponent was a wise choice. Xiao Wanjie chose to fight against Nie Tian, so Zhu Wan's opponent was naturally Tang 13. It seemed like Tang 13's little trick worked. She fought against Zhu Wan as she wished. Then, the battle of the top four officially began. Zhu Wan and Tang 13 silhouettes appeared on the battle stage. The first battle of the top four began. The crowd looked at the two silhouettes on the battle stage and couldn't help but to discuss. These two are fighting against each other. This battle is going to be interesting. That guy named Tang 13 seems a little weak. I hope he doesn't lose too quickly. Zhu Wan is far too strong. Tang 13 is in danger. Everyone discussed. It was obvious that they thought Zhu Wan would win. Nie Tian's eyes shone as he stared at the two silhouettes on the battle stage. He was even more nervous than he was on the stage. The two silhouettes hovered in the air and weren't in a rush to make a move. Tang 13, right? Zhu Wan stared at Tang 13 and his lips twitched. He spoke first. Those who were chosen by the demonic holy blood are indeed not simple. Tang 13 was startled and couldn't help but gasp. She didn't think Zhu Wan would know he had the demonic holy blood. Sadly, your opponent this time is me. Zhu Wan smiled again. If I'm not wrong, you must have been wounded when you used the original Shura's power. So what? Tang 13's expression darkened as he responded coldly. Zhu Wan snickered. Your relationship with Nie Tian isn't bad. Or else you wouldn't want to fight me just to test me out for him. Tang 13's eyes shook and he froze. He didn't think Zhu Wan would be so perceptive and know everything. Hee. Zhu Wan's eyes were like torches as he stared at Tang 13. Tang 13, you truly are a smart person. Sadly, you are too smart for your own good. You think you can fight against me with your original Shura's power? Can't I? Tang 13's eyes narrowed as he asked in a low voice. You are far too naive. Zhu Wan snickered. I once defeated a real original Shura. You are just a fake original Shura that relied on the demonic holy blood. Do you think I care? Tang 13 frowned. The shock in his heart was written all over his face. Could it be that Zhu Wan really defeated a real original Shura? If that was the case, then Zhu Wan's identity was not ordinary. Chapter 4099. In the air above the battle arena, a boundless amount of ghostly energy filled the skies. It rolled and rumbled, causing space and time to rumble as it pressed towards Tang 13. The crowd's eyes widened in shock. The momentum triggered by Zhu Wan's instantaneous movement was monstrous and violent. Killing intent filled the space within hundreds of thousands of meters, causing everyone to feel a nearly suffocating pressure. It was obvious that Zhu Wan wanted to kill Tang 13 with one strike. Nie Tian's eyes froze as his heart jumped out of his throat. Right at that moment Tang 13 moved. She took a step forward and terrifying black symbols appeared in her eyes. In an instant, her entire body was covered like a suit of armor. Though it was only a thin layer, it gave off the feeling that it could defend against anything. This is... Just then, the fat cat couldn't help but squeal. His face was full of shock. In the next second, a wave of ghostly energy crashed down on Tang 13. Tang 13's silhouette retreated in a frenzy. However, in the next second, Tang 13 steadied himself. The rune armor on his body forcibly blocked Zhu Wan's ghostly qi attack. However, a trace of blood could be seen at the corner of his mouth, and a sinister smile could be seen on his face. Zhu Wan's eyes widened as he stared at Tang 13 from afar. He didn't think that Tang 13 would be able to block his attack. What power! Nie Tian's pupils shrunk, his heart was in awe. The armor around Tang 13's body, the power he felt, made him shudder. It was as if the black symbols were the result of the fusion of the eye of the ghost and something else. This person blocked Zhu Wan's attack. Everyone's expression was shocked and they couldn't help but exclaim. The power that Tang 13 displayed was beyond their expectations. Tang 13, I will remember your name. Just then, on top of the battle stage, Zhu Wan's lips twitched. He said in a low voice, "It looks like I have underestimated you." Tang 13 wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. She coldly smiled and said, "Does this fake primal Azura surprise you?" Zhu Wan also sneered, "Tang 13, I didn't think that you would be able to unleash the power of the demonic saint's blood to such an extent, and even fuse it with your own bloodline power. You have indeed surprised me." The runic armor around Tang 13's body was formed from the fusion of the ghost eye and the primal Azura power. However, using such a power was extremely oppressive to his martial body. He wouldn't be able to last long in this state. "Then let me see what other tricks you have." Tang 13 laughed maniacally. Her silhouette flickered once again, like a beam of light, she dashed towards Zhu Wan. Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, numerous black runes appeared in the air, condensing into a terrifying sharp blade that sliced through the air. Ghost left hand. Zhu Wan narrowed his eyes and slowly raised his left hand. In an instant, the power of heaven and earth around him changed. Under the influence of a strange force, time seemed to slow down. Then, an extremely shocking scene occurred. Zhu Wan used his hand to grab onto the black blade in the air. Then, with a gentle flick, the blade flew towards Tang 13. Wretch! Tang 13's expression froze. He reacted instantly and dodged to the side. However, he was still one step too slow. His shoulder was pierced through and half of his body was bleeding profusely. How is this possible? In the next second, he steadied himself. His eyes were shaking as he screamed. Zhu Wan, on the other hand, frowned, appearing very unhappy. After 2 moves, Tang 13 was still alive. To him, this was a humiliation. Everyone around gasped in shock. They found it hard to conceal the shock in their hearts. Zhu Wan was far too terrifying. His methods were unpredictable. This person is so terrifying. Nie Tian's eyes were shaking. The shock in his heart was self-evident. Whether it was the ancestor or Tang 13, their capabilities far exceeded his expectations. However, the all-ghost ancestor's strength made him feel even more apprehensive. Tang 13 was already so terrifying, but in front of the ancestor, he had no way of fighting back. The ancestor's martial techniques, in particular, had reached an unimaginable level. Zhu Shi, who gave Nie Tian a lot of pressure, was nothing compared to the ancestor. Tang 13, you have no chance of winning this battle. Admit defeat. At that moment, Zhu Wan, who was hovering in the air, spoke coldly. Is that so? Tang 13's expression was evil as he snickered. We haven't fought to the end yet. Who knows who will win or lose? Why bother? Zhu Wan frowned as he shook his head. After that, he stepped out and raised his hand to the sky. Instantly, a vast amount of ghost qi appeared, condensing into a vortex in the air, exuding a heaven-defying might. Seeing this, Tang 13's expression changed. He placed his hands on his brows and the corner of his lips curled up in an evil grin. In the next moment, runes that exuded a dark and bloody aura surged out of his eyes and instantly covered his face, making him look extremely evil. Seeing this, Zhu Wan's eyes froze and he couldn't help but gasp. Eye of Shura. At the same time, Fat Cat squealed, shocking the crowd. Nie Tian was just as shocked and his expression froze. Everyone around the battle stage was in awe as they stared at Tang 13 from afar. Their hearts were filled with shock and awe. A terrifying amount of qi was emitting from Tang 13's body. Just by standing there, he resembled a towering mountain, giving everyone a sense of pressure. Tang 13, your abilities have amazed me. Just then, Zhu Wan suddenly laughed out loud and shouted, I didn't think that not only did you combine the blood of the holy demon with your own bloodline, you even awakened the legendary Eye of Shura. It turned out that Tang 13 had awakened the Eye of Shura. The original Shura had 5 forbidden powers: the Hand of Destruction, the Wings of Death, the Ghostly Body, the Forbidden Soul, and the Destiny of Heaven. Apart from these 5 restrictions, the primordial Azura had another restriction within the restrictions, and that was the Eye of Azura. Zhu Wan originally thought that even though Tang 13 had combined with the blood of the holy demon, he would at most be able to use some of the weaker powers of the original Shura. To be able to create the Shura's killing seal was his limit. But now it seems like he was wrong. Tang 13 was much more powerful than he had imagined. My abilities are not as simple as the Eye of Shura. Just then, Tang 13 once again laughed and said coldly, The battle between us has just begun. As soon as he spoke, his body shook and a wave of dark energy rose from him. A terrifying amount of qi appeared around him, like a dark ocean, surging. Chapter 4100. Nie Tian stared at Tang 13. His eyes trembled as he yelled, all 5 hexes activated. He could sense the powerful aura of a primordial Azura from the latter's body. That kind of darkness that rushed towards him made him feel an incomparable threat. The 5 hexes of Shura: Hand of Destruction, Wings of Death, Body of Ghost Killer, Forbidden Soul of Mysterious Heaven, not destined. Tang 13 had activated all 5 hexes. Just as he said, his battle with Zhu Wan had only just begun. Tang 13. On the battle stage, Zhu Wan called out his opponent's name word by word. Then, he laughed maniacally, let's fight to our heart's content. Before, he only saw Tang 13 as an ant that he could kill with a wave of his hand. Even though this ant resisted a few times and surprised him, it was still just an ant. But now, he saw Tang 13 as a true opponent. Apart from Nie Tian, there was actually another person who could be regarded as a rival. This was simply a matter of great joy. Come! Tang 13 laughed maniacally. He raised his hands and a destructive aura enveloped the entire battle stage. He promised Nie Tian that he would do his best to force Zhu Wan to reveal his trump card. Therefore, he would do his best to fight until the end. Boom! In the next moment, the wings of death on Tang 13's back opened. The black wings exuded a suffocating aura of death. He was so fast that his body blurred in the air like a black ray of light. Ghost's left hand. Facing Tang 13's deadly attack, Zhu Wan raised his hand again. Under the influence of the ghost qi, the space around him was in a special state. This is an enchantment. This time, Nie Tian finally saw it clearly. The moment Zhu Wan raised his hand, he used the ghost qi to open an enchantment. And this barrier actually had the effect of affecting space-time and slowing down the flow of time. This was why Zhu Wan was able to catch Tang 13's attack with his bare hands. Nie Tian, the power he used is not as simple as an enchantment. However, at that moment, Fat Cat's voice rang out. His expression was gloomy as he said, "The ancestor of all ghosts is definitely your strongest opponent. You must watch the upcoming battle carefully." "Yes." Nie Tian nodded heavily, his eyes shining brightly. At the same time, on the battle stage, Tang 13's ghostly slaughter body penetrated the void. The Xian Tian Forbidden Soul released a terrifying spiritual deterrence, forcing Zhu Wan to kill him. Buzz. But when he got close to Zhu Wan, he seemed to be blocked by something. A low rumble sounded in the void, and then his speed suddenly dropped. How is this possible? In the next second, Tang 13 realized something was wrong. Her pupils quivered as she screamed. In an instant, he actually felt waves of terrifying power coming from the surrounding space, pressing down on him from all directions, causing him to feel as if his entire body was being torn apart. What was even stranger was that the power was exactly the same as the aura of his entire body. I understand now. Below the arena, Nie Tian had similarly noticed something, and he cried out in shock. He saw that Zhu Wan's left hand was shrouded in a strange vortex, which was very difficult to detect. It was rapidly absorbing Tang 13's power. At that moment, he suddenly understood why Zhu Wan was able to use Tang 13's blade to hurt him. The vortex on Zhu Wan's left hand could absorb the opponent's power and make it his own. It seemed that the terrifying thing about Zhu Wan's left hand was not that it could open enchantments, but that it could absorb power. "Break for me!" At that moment, Tang 13 suddenly roared in a low voice. She suddenly opened her hands, and a destructive aura burst out, forcibly breaking open the enchantment in the surrounding space. Zhu Wan saw this and couldn't help but be surprised. Tang 13's strength and willpower were beyond his expectations. Ghostly right hand. However, he was not in a hurry and slowly raised his right hand. Rumble! Right at this moment, an enormous force appeared, causing the entire martial arts arena to shake as if it was about to collapse. Nie Tian's eyes trembled, and the shock in his heart was written all over his face. If Zhu Wan's left hand was already so terrifying, how terrifying would his right hand be? At that moment, the surrounding crowd was stunned. Clearly, they did not expect this battle to be so terrifying. "It's over." Zhu Wan's low voice sounded from the battle stage. Then, his right hand fell, and a majestic and unstoppable power appeared, crashing down on Tang 13's body. Poof! Poof! Tang 13's body froze, but she opened her eyes at that moment. Two blades of I-Force whizzed out, breaking through the air to attack. Zhu Wan immediately sensed the danger. His eyes narrowed, and he quickly retreated with a cry of surprise. Unfortunately, he was one step too slow. The two blades of I-Force hit him in the blink of an eye, leaving two glaring bloody scars on his face. At the same time, Tang 13's body flew backwards, leaving a trail of blood in the air as she rushed out of the battle stage. When she steadied herself, the crowd looked over and saw that her entire body was a bloody mess. The Eye of Azura, the 5 restrictions of Azura, and the attack from Zhu Wan's right hand were too much for her to bear. Tang 13. Nie Tian looked at the blood-red figure, his eyes trembling. He was deeply moved. How could he not know that Tang 13 had fought until this moment because of him? "You deserve to die." Just then, Zhu Wan roared. Ghostly chi erupted from his body, surging out like a tsunami. It was monstrous and shocking. He was the ancestor of all ghosts, but Tang 13 had left two glaring bloody scars on his face. How could he bear this? All of a sudden, Nie Tian felt an oppressive aura. His expression flickered as he shouted, "Not good! Ghost's calamity, kill!" In the next moment, Zhu Wan roared like a wild beast. His entire body surged with a completely different aura than before. His entire body was like a wild beast, madly attacking Tang 13. Tang 13 barely managed to stabilize his body, but felt the approaching aura of death. His eyes couldn't help but tremble. He had already been knocked out of the battle stage, so he had lost this battle. But Zhu Wan was enraged and wanted to kill him directly. Seeing this, the crowd's eyes trembled violently, and they all exclaimed in unison. No one expected Zhu Wan to be so fierce. Roar! Chapter 4101. Nie Tian hovered in midair. His two astral souls, the azure dragon and black tortoise, shot out, shaking the entire space. The crowd was dumbfounded, each and every one of them was dumbfounded. Zhu Wan's sudden attack was already out of their expectations. Nie Tian's attack was even more shocking. Boom! The azure dragon and black tortoise astral souls erupted at the same time, resonating with each other, shaking the entire space. However, the boundless ghostly aura that blotted out the sky was like a tsunami, suppressing and killing everything in its path. Bang! In the blink of an eye, two thunderous booms resounded. The silhouette of the azure dragon and the black tortoise were shattered into pieces. Terrifying shockwaves rippled outwards, spreading in all directions. Seeing this, Nie Tian's eyes trembled with astonishment, and his expression froze. He didn't expect Zhu Wan's strength to be so terrifying. The resonance of the two forbidden astral souls, in front of the ghost tribulation, was completely useless. In the next instant, the terrifying ghostly aura gushed towards Tang 13. Such a terrifying ghostly aura could possibly separate Tang 13 from the slaughter wolf astral soul. If that's the case, even if Tang 13 was a star monarch, she wouldn't be able to revive. Nie Tian's eyes narrowed. He felt a cold breath stuck in his throat, unable to be swallowed nor spit out. Just at this moment of life and death, something strange happened. Hua! In the air, a powerful force appeared, descending from the sky. Momentarily, the sky changed color, as if it was covered by a layer of frost. Following that, a strange scene appeared. Crack, crack, crack. Everywhere the force passed, time and space froze. Even the ghostly aura was frozen solid. The crowd was stunned by the scene before them. They all drew in a breath of cold air as their expressions froze. Who would have thought that a third person would make a move? It's him. Nie Tian lifted his head, staring at the silhouette in the air. He couldn't help but frown, his face filled with shock. He didn't think that Zhu Shi would make a move at this moment. Zhu Wan's silhouette stiffened as he hovered in the air. His eyes were like sharp blades, locked onto Zhu Shi. Everyone's eyes trembled. They had not expected that Zhu Shi would actually make a move. You have already won, so why take another's life? Zhu Shi's face was stern as he looked at Zhu Wan from afar. A mere ancestral dragon dares to teach me a lesson? Zhu Wan sneered, his eyes filled with arrogance. Zhu Shi frowned. He was clearly surprised that Zhu Wan could tell that he had the ancestral dragon physique at a glance. Zhu Wan, you've already won. This battle ends here. At this time, Nie Tian's silhouette flickered and he appeared beside Tang 13. Looking at Zhu Wan, he said, "If you still want to fight, I, Nie Tian, will accompany you to the end." Humph. With a cold laugh, Zhu Wan seemed much calmer than before as he said in a deep voice, "Nie Tian, our duel will begin soon. Don't worry." As soon as he finished speaking, his figure flashed and leaped off the arena. The storm ended just like that. Thanks. Staring at Zhu Wan's back, Nie Tian's face was extremely dark. Then, he turned around to Zhu Shi and sincerely thanked him. If Zhu Shi didn't make a move, Tang 13 would have died for sure. She would have died completely. I look forward to fighting against you. Zhu Shi's eyes flickered and he spoke in a low voice. Then, in a flash, he disappeared. Nie Tian frowned. Why does everyone want to fight against me? Tang 13, are you okay? Then, he looked at Tang 13 and asked anxiously. I survived. Tang 13 exhaled deeply. Her face was white as a sheet, but the sharpness in her eyes never faded. You shouldn't have angered him. Nie Tian shook his head and bitterly smiled. What happened just now was far too dangerous. Nie Tian, you have the confidence to defeat him, right? Tang 13 chuckled and asked. No. Nie Tian once again bitterly smiled and shook his head. Even though he had seen Tang 13 fight against Zhu Wan and understood the latter's capabilities, he still wasn't confident. Zhu Wan was far too terrifying. He was even more of a threat than Zhu Shi. Tang 13 frowned but didn't say anything. This was the first time he's seen Nie Tian's lack of confidence. The Nie Tian of the past, no matter who he faced, has never felt this uneasy. It wasn't that Nie Tian's confidence had weakened. It was that Zhu Wan was far too terrifying. Tang 13 didn't know much about Zhu Wan. But from the battle just now, he could tell that Zhu Wan was no ordinary warrior. His real identity must be terrifying. Zhu Wan defeated Tang 13 with absolute superiority and successfully entered the finals of the Hidden Dragon. Next was the duel between Nie Tian and Xiao Wanjie, the Devil's Son. Nie Tian, don't tell me you don't have the confidence to defeat this guy? Tang 13 glanced over to Nie Tian and chuckled. If I can't even defeat him, then I should pack up and go home. Nie Tian smiled as well. His eyes were full of confidence. Though Xiao Wan was scary, he wasn't scary enough to scare him. Against Xiao Wan, Nie Tian had great confidence. Nie Tian's silhouette flashed. Like a sharp sword, he landed on top of the battle ring. His entire body emitted a sharp energy that engulfed the entire battle ring. At the same time, Xiao Wan's silhouette appeared as well. Like a mountain, he descended and the space around him rumbled. The crowd stared at the two silhouettes, their eyes shaking. This is the second battle of the top four. I wonder who will win the battle between the two of them. I think Xiao Wan is better. Though he lost to Nie Tian before, he is the second-ranked warrior in the Hidden Sky continent. His capabilities and reputation are not something Nie Tian can compare to. Reputation is useless. Up until now, Nie Tian has only lost to Zhu Shi. Who knows how strong he really is? Everyone discussed. It was obvious that they did not agree on the result of this battle. Xiao Wanjie's capabilities and reputation were greater, but Nie Tian's recent performance was far too eye-catching. Those with sharp eyes could see his terrifying potential. Nie Tian, you have surprised the demonic sun by making it this far. Just then, Xiao Wanjie, who was standing on top of the battle ring, spoke. His eyes stared at Nie Tian. His eyes were cold and full of murderous intent. Nie Tianling snickered. Your Highness, it's too early to be surprised. It won't be too late to be surprised when you lose to me. Chapter 4102. Boom! On the arena, Xiao Wanjie's aura exploded like a tsunami, forming a terrifying whirlpool of ghost qi in the air. What a powerful aura! Nie Tian frowned as he sensed the terrifying aura in the air. He was shocked. Xiao Wanjie's strength was much stronger than a few days ago. The ghost qi around him was as violent as thunder, shaking the air. Nie Tian, I won't give you the slightest chance this time. In the next moment, Xiao Wanjie let out a low roar and took a step forward. Terrifying ghost qi rumbled as a terrifyingly sharp black claw appeared out of nowhere and slammed down towards Nie Tian. Nie Tian's eyes trembled as he saw the space around him being torn apart. It was obvious that Xiao Wanjie had attacked with all his strength, vowing to kill Nie Tian. Godfiend body, activate. Nie Tian's expression changed. The Godfiend force in his body surged and he activated the Godfiend body. If he still held back against an expert like Xiao Wanjie, he would be digging his own grave. With the appearance of Godfiend inscriptions, Nie Tian's aura surged violently as if it was going to break through the restrictions of time and space. Recently, Nie Tian's strength had increased tremendously. However, this was the first time he activated the Godfiend body. He couldn't control the sudden increase in strength. Come on! Nie Tian growled. He took out the sky sword and charged at the terrifying ghost claw in the air. The sword's shadow was as violent as a dragon, killing everything in its path. Boom! In the next moment, the sword's shadow arrived and collided with the ghost claw. There was a muffled sound in the air, and the two forces crumbled at the same time. Nie Tian moved slightly and retreated a few steps. Xiao Wanjie, on the other hand, was rooted like an old tree, unmoved. My cultivation is still too far apart from his. Nie Tian steadied himself and smiled bitterly. The difference in strength between him and Xiao Wanjie was too great. Even if he activated the fiend god body, he would still be at a disadvantage in a head-on clash. Amen. Xiao Wanjie forced back Nie Tian with a single palm strike. His face revealed not surprise but shock. He didn't expect that Nie Tian would actually be able to withstand his palm strike head-on. Nie Tian, it looks like you haven't used your true strength in the previous battle. Xiao Wanjie smiled coldly, his eyes revealing a cold, killing intent. Xiao Wanjie, didn't you also hide your strength? Nie Tian replied with a faint smile. The aura around his body actually continued to rise explosively. Kill! Xiao Wanjie's eyes darkened, and he roared like a beast. His figure was like a terrifying black whirlpool as he charged toward Nie Tian. Boom! After which, a thunderous sound rang out in the air as the heavens and earth trembled. A storm of ghostly chi appeared, like a gigantic beast that wanted to devour everything. Nie Tian's eyes trembled slightly, and his expression suddenly changed. Xiao Wanjie was truly going all out this time, not holding anything back. Reversal of yin and yang. In an instant, he reacted. The sword in the sky was like a dragon that wanted to devour the sky. It howled and pierced forward. The shadow of the sword was filled with murderous intent, and the power of reversal of yin and yang was revealed. Bang! Then, the two terrifying forces collided. Immediately, a terrifying explosion occurred in the air, as if the heavens and earth were about to explode. Hiss, 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 bang, bang, bang. Then, the two forces were like two gigantic beasts that wrestled with each other, penetrated each other, collided, merged, and devoured each other. Under the impact of the rolling waves, Nie Tian and Xiao Wanjie's silhouettes were already submerged. These two are too terrifying. Everyone's eyes were shaking uncontrollably, and their expressions were full of shock. They already knew that Nie Tian and Xiao Wanjie were geniuses among geniuses, but when they actually saw the battle between the two, they still found it hard to believe. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they would find it hard to believe that this was a battle between two young cultivators. Nie Tian, don't disappoint me. Zhu Wanjie stood high in the sky and watched the battle stage from afar. The corner of his lips curled into a cold smile. What he was looking forward to was the battle against Nie Tian. If Nie Tian was defeated by Xiao Wanjie, then this hidden dragon battle would be far too boring. Qing Qi, Tang 13, and the others watched the battle stage with trembling eyes. It was obvious that they were very nervous. Die. Just then, a loud roar came from the sky. Then, a black wave of ghostly energy appeared. Like a sharp blade, it tore through the sky. Bang! Next, a muffled sound arose. Then, a red silhouette was flung out. It was Nie Tian. Nie Tian. Qing Qi and the others were shocked by the scene before them. It's Nie Tian, he's injured. Everyone's expression changed as they screamed. It seemed that Nie Tian's strength was not as strong as Xiao Wanjie. But just then, a pair of starlight wings appeared on Nie Tian's back, allowing him to hover steadily in the air. His body shook and the blood stains on his body were washed away. His entire person regained its sharpness. The crowd trembled at the sight of this. It seemed that the near-fatal injury to them did not affect Nie Tian at all. Nie Tian, you are indeed strong. But this battle, you will lose for sure. High above the battle stage, Xiao Wanjie's voice resounded. Then, waves of ghostly energy rushed over like a giant beast in a tsunami. Nie Tian frowned slightly. A strange expression appeared on his face. He simply couldn't believe it. At this moment, he actually felt a strange aura again. This aura triggered a resonance within his body, causing his martial body to slowly approach its limit. It's that energy again. His eyes trembled and his heart was filled with shock. Earlier, he had already felt the same energy. It was this energy that helped him activate the 9 universe limits, allowing him to successfully comprehend the 7th universe limit, the inverse yin-yang. At that time, he felt that this energy was most likely related to the mysterious 9th universe messenger. He never thought that this energy would reappear at this moment. What's wrong with Nye Tian? Everyone saw that Nye Tian was in a daze. They couldn't help but yell, unsure of what was happening. You're courting death. Xiao Wanjie's expression turned fierce as he growled. To lose focus at a moment of life and death was suicide. Boom! Instantly, a terrifying ghostly energy filled the air, blotting out the sky and covering the earth, destroying everything in its path. 9 universe limits, 8th universe limit, change of heaven and earth. But at this moment, Nye Tian raised the sword in his hand. Instantly, a sword aura that could reverse the heavens and earth erupted. The surrounding void rumbled endlessly. In an instant, Xiao Wanjie suddenly felt the terrifying pressure of the sword aura. He couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. One could only see surges of surging ghostly qi and sword shadows with killing intent. The battle between Nye Tian and Xiao Wanjie had already reached its climax. After a long time, the chaotic time-space finally calmed down. 2 blood-soaked figures appeared high up in the sky. They were Nye Tian and Xiao Wanjie. Nye Tianling stood high up in the sky. His aura was as sharp as a sword, piercing through the heavens. The ghostly qi around Xiao Wanjie was terrifying and surging, like a demon god. These 2 fellows are too terrifying. They can actually maintain such a state in a battle of this level. The crowd stared at the 2 people in the sky, and their eyes couldn't help but tremble in shock. Nye Tian and Xiao Wanjie had fought for so long, but they actually didn't suffer any heavy injuries. This battle seemed to be going on for a long time. Nye Tian, this devil's son didn't think that you could actually last until now. The ghostly qi around Xiao Wanjie's body was incomparably violent. His eyes stared fixedly at Nye Tian. His gaze was cold and murderous, as if he wanted to skin the latter alive. He originally wanted to defeat Nye Tian and preserve some of his strength, but he didn't think that Nye Tian could actually last until now. I also didn't expect that you still had some strength left. The corners of Nye Tian's mouth twitched, as a mocking smile appeared on his face. Humph. Xiao Wanjie laughed coldly. How can this devil's son's strength be something you can guess? As the sound of his voice faded, he took a step forward. Instantly, ghostly qi violently gushed forth as a terrifying deathly aura gushed forth, permeating the entire arena. Yet Nye Tian wasn't afraid at all. He tightened his grip on the long sword in his hand as his eyes gleamed with killing intent. His entire person was incomparably sharp. And at this moment, Xiao Wanjie slammed his palm downwards. Instantly, countless rays of black light appeared in the air, exploding apart like a ball of fire. The rays of black light connected together, enveloping the entire arena. Nye Tian's eyes narrowed. A pair of astral soul wings appeared on his back as he frantically retreated. How much strength does this fellow have left? He steadied himself as he silently mused. After such a long battle, Xiao Wanjie's strength didn't weaken in the slightest. In fact, it was getting stronger and stronger. This caused Nye Tian to be extremely puzzled. Nye Tian, you have to end this battle as soon as possible. The martial art this fellow cultivates is extremely bizarre. He can unceasingly devour energy. If this battle drags on, it won't be beneficial to you. The fat cat's voice rang out. Nie Tian nodded his head. He knew that Xiao Wanjie still had the night elephant hidden within his body. Hence, he had to defeat the latter in a single move. If not, the latter would be angered and release the night elephant, and that would be troublesome. Although Nie Tian wasn't afraid of the night elephant, once it appeared, there was a high possibility that the 9-level chaos beast would be attracted. That would attract uninvited guests. Zhu Wan stood in the air, watching the battle on the arena. His eyes shone with a bright light, as though he was anticipating something. Nie Tian, you're dead for sure. In the air, Xiao Wanjie roared in anger. Ghostly qi surged around his body, and every move he made shook the heavens and earth. Nie Tian's figure moved erratically, avoiding Xiao Wanjie's direct confrontation. Change of heaven and earth, 9 swords open array. At that moment, that voice rang out in his mind again, and he couldn't help but be stunned. In the next instant, an image flashed across his mind. In the empty space, 9 swords appeared like 9 raging dragons. They moved in unison and instantly tore through the void. The sudden scene made Nie Tian frown, and his face was filled with astonishment. Nie Tian, use the arena in front of you as the array formation. Gather the 9 swords and open the real change of heaven and earth. Just as he was puzzled, the fat cat's voice rang out excitedly. At that moment, Nie Tian finally understood. He agreed and raised his sword to the sky. The sound of the sword roared, and suddenly, a sword shadow appeared. It was like a mountain that stood in the sky. When Xiao Wanjie saw this scene, he couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. He didn't know what Nie Tian was doing, but his killing intent was already set, and he didn't give Nie Tian any chance. He slapped out with his palm, and a terrifying palm shadow rushed towards Nie Tian. The wings on Nie Tian's back flapped, and he slapped out with his palm. The Earth Extermination Astral Soul appeared, and he forcefully blocked Xiao Wanjie's palm. After that, his figure moved again. Like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, he swept past the arena, leaving behind sword shadows that surrounded the entire arena like giant stone pillars. Chapter 4104. Xiao Wanjie stared at the 9 sword silhouettes, and his eyes trembled. He had a bad premonition, but he was still incomparably arrogant. He growled, Nie Tian, no matter how many tricks you have, you must die today. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Wanjie slammed his palm forward. Instantly, an enormous amount of ghost energy rushed towards Nie Tian like a giant wave. Nie Tianling stood in the sky and stared at the sword silhouettes around him. There was no fear in his eyes, there was a hint of playfulness. At this moment, he completely understood the meaning of the transformation of heaven and earth and the 9 swords array. The 8th limit of the universe, the transformation of heaven and earth, could gather sword intent and not disperse. The true meaning of the transformation of heaven and earth was to gather sword intent and activate an array. Then, the sword intent inside the array would unleash an unimaginable amount of power and reverse the universe. The 9 sword silhouettes that Nie Tian created earlier, of course, weren't for the purpose of deterrence. Rather, it was to activate a sword array. The 9 sword silhouettes already contained a terrifying amount of power. Under the support of the array, the power of the 9 sword silhouettes increased by several times or even dozens of times. The power of the 9 sword silhouettes was unimaginable. Xiao Wanjie, you have no chance. The corner of Nie Tian's lips curled up into a cold smile. He stepped forward and raised the sword in the sky. Instantly, an enormous amount of sword intent shot up to the sky, causing the surrounding space to rumble. Boom, boom, boom. In the next second, the 9 sword silhouettes resonated and moved in unison. The momentum of a giant dragon soared to the sky and destroyed everything. Boom. Just then, the enormous palm silhouette, under the attack of the 9 sword silhouettes, crumbled. Seeing this, Xiao Wanjie's eyes widened in shock. he screamed and couldn't say anything else. Transformation of heaven and earth, reverse the universe. At the same time, Nye Tion's figure soared into the sky, and his majestic voice exploded like a clap of thunder. Instantly, the 9 sword images actually condensed in the sky, and a boundless sword aura was formed. The surrounding space rumbled incessantly, and it seemed as if the heavens and the earth were about to collapse. It was like a collapse. Boom. Then, the gigantic shadow of the sword fell, destroying everything in its path. Xiao Wanjie's pupils suddenly constricted, and before he could even react, his figure was directly struck by the sword shadow and sent flying. Like a kite with its string cut, he fell from the sky, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. This suffocating scene caused everyone's eyes to shake violently. The entire vast cloud plaza was deathly silent. Only the violent energy in the void rumbled endlessly. How is this possible? After a long time, someone finally reacted. However, the shock in their eyes was still unconcealable. No one could have imagined that the power that Nye Tian erupted with in an instant was so terrifying that it directly defeated Xiao Wanjie. Qing Qi stared at Nye Tian in the sky with a face full of shock. His lips trembled slightly as if he wanted to say something but couldn't. He didn't expect that Nye Tian could actually comprehend the true essence of Qian Kuan transformation and defeat Xiao Wanjie with 9 swords. Previously, when Nye Tian activated the 7th level, he was already feeling uneasy. Now that Nye Tian had comprehended the 8th level, Qian Kuan transformation, he panicked even more. Could it be that guy is really here? Qing Qi's expression shifted rapidly. There was an indescribable sense of panic and uneasiness in his heart. He had a feeling that something big was about to happen. Tang 13 stared at Nye Tian with a face full of joy. She didn't expect Nye Tian to end his battle against Xiao Wanjie in such a manner. Nye Tian's body seemed to contain an infinite amount of potential, as if there was no limit to it. At this moment, Nye Tian's figure moved. He slowly took a step forward. A trace of blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth, and his face instantly turned pale. The power of Qian Kuan transformation and the 9 swords array was indeed strong, but it also put a great deal of pressure on Nye Tian's martial body. He was currently seriously injured. Nye Tian, he's also injured. Everyone stared at Nye Tian in shock. At this moment, everyone could see that Nye Tian, who had defeated Xiao Wanjie, was also injured by the powerful force. But now, Nye Tian still had to continue his battle against the even more terrifying Zhu Wan. Based on the strength Nye Tian had displayed so far, even at peak condition, he might not be able to defeat Zhu Wan. Now that he was seriously injured, did he still have the strength to fight Zhu Wan? Although Nye Tian's face was pale, his eyes were filled with determination. After stepping off the battle stage, he took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. Nye Tian, you really didn't disappoint me. In the distant void, Zhu Wan said in a deep voice. His voice reached Nye Tian's ears and he sneered. But now, what qualifications do you have to fight me? Ancestor of all ghosts, the battle between us hasn't even started. Underestimating your opponent too early is your biggest mistake. Nye Tian suddenly turned around. His eyes were like sharp blades, cold and staring at Zhu Wan as he transmitted his voice. Humph. Zhu Wan sneered and looked at Nye Tian playfully. Nye Tian, your strength is far from Dongwang Jingrong's. But your character is exactly the same as his. You're both so annoying. Aren't you just as annoying? Nye Tianling replied with a smile. Since you and I both hate each other, let's wait for the next battle. The corner of Zhu Wan's mouth twitched. He could no longer control the killing intent in his eyes. He was like a ferocious beast that wanted to devour someone. Nye Tian's eyes slightly narrowed and he didn't say anything else. Next, he had half a day to rest. He needed to hurry up and recover from his injuries. Soon, half a day passed. Nye Tian stood up. His aura had recovered a lot, but his face was still a little pale. Everyone looked at Nie Tian in shock. This guy is too scary. In such a short time, he's almost recovered. His martial body is too strong. It's infuriating. I really did not expect that in this hidden dragon struggle, the ones who reached the final battle would actually be two completely unknown cultivators. I wonder who will have the last laugh in this battle. That guy called Zhu Wan is even scarier than Xiao Wanjie. Nie Tian's injuries haven't healed yet. I think it's going to be difficult. The crowd discussed and looked at Nie Tian with a trace of sympathy. Nie Tian heard the crowd's discussion, but he didn't care. He took a step forward and landed on the battle stage like a dragon. Almost at the same time, Zhu Wan's silhouette appeared as well. His evil eyes flickered and cold locked on Nie Tian's body. Nie Tian, you and I are finally going to fight. Zhu Wan's eyes were hot and gloomy. There was a trace of madness in his excitement. He looked at Nie Tian and said in a deep voice. He had been suppressed by Dong Wang Jingrong his whole life. He hated the latter to the bone.